Terrence, what's up, my man?
What's up, bro?
How you doing?
Solid.
Yeah, what'd you do this morning?
Let's see. Well, I woke up at, what time was it? Like 7:20. Then around, I think 7:45, I was like, all right, I should go put something in my stomach and maybe get a tea. I was like, oh yeah, I should probably not get any caffeine in that tea, even though I wanted some caffeine. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, I just woke up, but it's not good for your like voice or whatever, I guess.
Right.
So it's like, yeah, I got to do some singing, so I should probably not get that.
Right.
Got some honey in there. I think it was hibiscus.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I think I've had it cold and like, I don't know, like not a Gatorade, but something similar. Probably had a flavor similar to it. Mm-hmm. It wasn't bad. Then went back, just sat around for, a little while. Called the PT spot because my back's jacked up a little bit. Called them and was like, hey, I had a mishap on Friday. I had to go to Ready Med because like whatever's going on back there, like it's just like it was not kosher at all. It was like, I'm going to stab you in the lower part of your back.
So you have a stabbing pain in your back?
Yeah, that's what it was feeling like. Yeah, it wasn't cool. Like I can feel it right now, but it's like they're just like, if it gets back to that point, then yeah, call us and like come in. But
what's that from?
Yeah, I used to drive for FedEx. Like I literally quit because of this, but I'm on workman's comp, and I was shutting the door on the back of my truck, and I was like, I'm in a smaller box truck, so like you see the ones where they have the sliding doors up front. My door opens like a car door, so I have to get out, climb down, walk around, lift up, undo the hatch, lift it up, perfectly fine.
Were you delivering? FedEx to houses and stuff?
Yeah.
It was like a 15-footer?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
About that size.
Small one.
And yeah, super small. And it was like just big in the back.
How long did you do that for?
Let's see. I think, it would have been 3 years in like August or September. I was just like, yeah, my body's just like, nah, bro. Because I did this last year too. And I was lifting. So I used to do a route in Muscatine, Iowa. It's like 15, 20 minutes away.
You want to let the listeners know where you're from?
Oh, yeah. Davenport, Iowa. Right off the Mississippi River. They call it the Quad Cities for like Davenport, Bettendorf, Rock Island, Moline. And then there's a bunch of others like East Moline.
Those are the four main ones that create the quad?
Yeah.
And you've born and raised there?
I was born on an Army base in Oklahoma, but my family's from here. Like my mom, once she like had me and was discharged from the birth, we moved back here. So I mean, all I've known was here, like
Davenport.
Yeah. Well, Davenport. Yeah, we're not in Davenport.
Yeah, about what 3 hours west of here is Davenport?
Yeah.
I've been once. I liked it. It was cool. Again, I was explaining earlier. It was back when May 2019 when the Mississippi overflowed.
Yeah, it
was. I felt really bad. Messed up that area. But it was a cool area. I really liked going up those hills, the old houses along the river.
Yeah.
That was really cool.
Oh, I wonder if you went into McClellan Heights. Were they like super nice houses?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very Victorian looking.
Yeah. that I literally did that route. And
oh, you delivered for them?
Yeah.
Okay.
And like there was some of those houses, there's like 30 steps and like they don't have a back driveway or anything that you can pull into. So you have to go up the steps and
and those are the type of people that are expecting premium delivery.
Yeah, one, it's like I talked to a few of them. Like there was one that like I'm not gonna lie, I Googled the guy because I'm like, okay, this dude's super cool. Like let me see who he is, And I Googled and I think he was just like a vice president or something in the Quad Cities. But like there was one day like I dropped off wine to him like probably like at least once every 2 weeks, but sometimes once a week. And like this, I mean, this was during pandemic too. So I was like, sometimes I'm like, hey, and I'm like setting the box down and stuff. And then he's like, hey, 1 second. And he's like, this is for you. So he like sets the wine down inside his door. And he's like, just set that inside if you can. Set it inside. And he's like, hey, you drink wine? I was like, I drink everything, man. If it's got alcohol in it, I don't care what it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, and it's like, I mean, honestly, most of the people that I met, they were all super chill. Like,
oh, cool.
And it's like, it's funny because like there were a lot of times where like not them, but say like people with Trump signs, like when he was in office, like I didn't know how to take people because I didn't know them. So it was like sometimes I was kind of worried because I'm like there was so much like even especially after certain things were just happening, I'm just like, what do I do? I'm just gonna do my job, but like I'll have to be cautious, because I'm African American and I'm doing deliveries and some of these super, like, I mean, $1 million houses, And but then there was a couple incidents where I had to check myself because like the guy rolled up. He was a veteran. I knew that. Just looking at him, and I think he must have had something on his self because he had a MAGA hat on, and he was walking his dog, and like there was one house that like they had a flag, and then the back window was like a Durango, and the Durango faced towards where we would pull in. It was kind of like almost not a cul-de-sac, but just like one of those. It's like a one street in, but it'll have like 50 houses lined up, and it's like mostly old people that live in them. But
and it just
houses.
winds back and connects.
Yeah. And so then the first house you see, the Durango's Trump stickers
like
facing
a gated
you.
community,
Almost,
pretty
but with
much.
no gate. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And so like I thought he lived there, so I'm like, oh crap, because just naturally I see all of what he's wearing, and then I see those all the time, and I never saw any other Trump stickers or anything or anything in their yard. So I was like, oh crap, he's gonna come bug me. And he rolls up, and I was like, hey, how's it going? Just being myself naturally. And he's like, oh, nothing's going on. And I was like, all right, that's cool. And then he was still sitting there, so I was like, can I help you at all? He's like, oh yeah, I live right here, and I'm just waiting for my package. And like my head, I'm just like, oh my gosh, dude, like this has me thinking that this dude was like, sitting here just watching me do my job or something. And like I'm at his, like I'm delivering to his house direct, or I wasn't. I was delivering to his neighbor, but he lived here instead of right here where I thought he did because of what he was wearing. And I'm like, I was disappointed in myself because the way I was feeling, I was like, I put up this guard, and like I wasn't on edge, but I mean I was ready for him to say something aggressive or act a certain way.
That's really interesting you say that, because it's kind of a different viewpoint. A lot of people always assume like if someone's a white man, MAGA hat, Davenport, Iowa, he's going to be this, and that. Yeah. And you're the person who's just delivering the package, but because you're black, you thought one thing. And a lot of times people are always assuming it's only one way. Only the gaze of a white man can be, disingenuous or maybe overthinking something or rude or, not nice or racist or something. I'm not saying you were, but
right.
You know what I'm saying? It's interesting that, like, I appreciate you saying that, being honest, letting people know, like, it's a human thing.
Yeah.
It's a human thing to, like, prejudge. It only becomes exacerbated and like messed up when it's that power dynamic, when it is about race, when it is about gender, when it is about sex, when it is about xenophobia, money, class wars. It's weird. It's weird, but it's like I can't even imagine why you went to that place, but it's probably years of dealing with terrible stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, and that's the thing, because it's like I mean, there's thoughts that I'll have sometimes, but it's like I check myself it's like when I see someone that looks a certain way, but then I'm like, I'll try to flush it out. Like, I mean, it naturally comes and goes, just because it's like it's almost like society has us like something we don't know. We think we know because if we see it on TV or we've ran into someone before that looks a certain, because if we're not doing this, I don't know you, so my brain just, if it's just passing by and there's like 50 people around, it doesn't happen. But like, I mean, there's times actually where I'll be like, like my brain is just so weird. Like I would be delivering for FedEx, and if there's like one person sitting over there, like I would turn music off a lot just because I would get lost, and then I'm like, oh, I want to write a song because a melody pops in my head. Well, I got to turn my radio off because I'm getting distracted now. So I'd be driving down, and I see this person, and it's like, it didn't matter what neighborhood, but I was like, oh, I know their backstory. Like, just by looking at them. And it wasn't judging, but my brain would just be like, oh, that person's a paramedic, and their day is off right now, and they're just walking their dog, and they, I'm just like, my brain just runs with a backstory just to make one up real quick. And I don't even know why.
It seems to be something natural that we do. And I've heard a lot of people say it's like social. It's a construct. I've heard a lot of people say it's, evolution. It's how we're designed to have these patterns and schemas in our brain to make sense of the world. To me, it sounds like it's both. I feel like, this is anecdotal. This is stuff I've heard from just living life and talking to people.
Right.
But it seems to be, we have this hankering to do it naturally. And then because we like naturally gravitate towards putting stuff in categories to understand it. To know like, that is up, that is down. It is hot, I must wear less clothes. It is cold, I must wear more clothes. It helps us understand how to interface with things. With people, it probably was an old survival thing. It's like, you're not from my tribe. I have to try to use as much information as I can from my experience to generalize what you might be just for my own survival, just to be safe.
Yeah.
Now, because things have gotten so complicated, we have so many different types of ethnicities, belief systems, religions, financial situations, fashion, clothes, so many cross fashions and cross genres of music. You can't even generalize in something like, that's a white dude. He must wear, a polo and only listen to classic rock. It's like, not anymore.
No.
Like, between Spotify and YouTube, all that's changed. Like, anybody could be listening and doing and enjoying anything. Podcasting's helped a lot with that because the listeners will hear people they don't know talk about something, and it'll like hit it, a note in their head. And like, oh, I never thought about that. Maybe I'll check this out. So the age of information is really starting to put like a, jam up the gears of what we thought you should like generalize on things. And I think it's great.
Right.
It's great. Like just hearing you talk about like you generalizing some dude, which you probably have all the right to do, to be honest. But it's just natural. It's just natural. You've been delivering to these people forever. And when you see something that's a little different, you're like, you only can go to that survival mechanism, like that place where like, I don't know. And it's different to be a black man in America.
Yeah.
It's
like, it's so crazy because like, there's been times where I know for a fact, like, because I grew up in Davenport, but I grew up like 2 blocks from the high school I went to. And I mean, predominantly black neighborhood, and like most of us didn't have money. Like we were super poor. And I mean, like my next door neighbor, I could tell you stories about his pit bull that bit people. And I mean, like I didn't see it full on, but I mean, just situations to where like I actually want to work on a project, which I probably will within the next 6 months to a year, just like some spoken word poetry and stuff. And
you want to tell the listeners what you do in here? We have not said anything. I tend to do that a lot with these, where we just start talking and they're like, who is this guy? So just introduce yourself and what you do. That way what you're about to say can make more sense.
Makes sense, yeah. So my name's Terrance Banks. I perform under the artist name of Soultru. Right now it's myself and Cadence Graham. She's just not with us today. She plays piano, guitar, drums, bass, I think accordion, and she's one of those people that just can play everything fluently, and like even if she's never played it before, she could probably figure it out, And I just do I sing soulful music to an extent. Play a little bit of acoustic guitar, some electric. Like not proficient in
keys, right?
Who, me?
Yeah.
No keys on me. Yeah, but Cadence plays keys though. But yeah. I rap on some of my songs too. So I mean, there's like I got on Spotify and everything. There's like soulful hip hop songs, and then I have some acoustic tracks on there as well.
Yeah, it's a nice, unique blend of like soul meets R&B meets like indie folk, like a little folk.
Yeah, it's so weird because I never thought about it with the acoustic guitar, but like because I think there was the project like a Wee's on there, but like Bandcamp had done like I think it was October. It was like best of soul that month or something. I was like, wait, what? Like I didn't even realize like because I'd submitted through their channels or whatever. And I was like, someone tagged me like the day it released. They're like, Terrance, did you see this was on this Bandcamp thing? I was like, no, that's epic.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's dope. But
how long you been playing music for?
I've been singing. I mean, I grew up in like church, so it was like, I mean, my earliest memory for sure of singing was like elementary school. Like one of my uncles used to do the lead.
Hold that thought. I'm going to turn my headphones down a little bit.
Oh, you're good.
Keep talking.
But yeah, one of my uncles used to do the lead in like the church.
Is your headphones quieter now? Sorry.
Nah, we're good.
You're good?
But yeah, we used to go to Progressive Baptist Church in Davenport. And
Progressive That's what it was. It called that? Or is that like the genre of?
No, that's what it was. Yeah, it was a Baptist church, but it was called progressive. But yeah, like my uncle used to do like the leads in church, and it was just one of those things. Like, I mean, I gravitated towards music, like probably first day I can remember easily, and like he just used to get up there and just do his thing, and I mean, just so much energy, and just like everyone loved him, and I mean, he just had this spirit about him, you know, and like he was like a huge influence on me getting into music, and I mean, I didn't start like writing or doing like poetry. Like I started doing poetry like probably junior high, and I mean, because there was a lot of stuff. Like he had passed away. I think we were, I don't know, maybe like I was either 5th grade or like 6th grade. Like I wasn't that old, but he, which I didn't know he was gay. And then at some point he ended up contracting AIDS at some point, and then he passed away from that. And like I didn't like there was never a conversation of like why he died or anything. And it was like, so it was like for a long time. I mean, probably until junior high to high school, I didn't even know. But it was like one of those things. It was like, I remember him being there, and then I remember like him getting sick, and then I remember him just like, I didn't even go walk up to like his casket when we were sitting there as a family, because I couldn't, because it happened so sudden and I didn't know what happened. And I mean, he was like a father figure because we would drive him to church all the time, especially like when he got sicker. But
how old were you when this happened?
Maybe elementary school. Like I think at most I think it was elementary.
How did that like mesh with the church? No, like I know homosexuality and Christianity are not, or any really religion, they're not very. It's not looked highly upon.
Well, with as young as I was, I don't think I saw all of it, because I mean, what it looked like from my view, it looked like everyone loved him, and it's like, I mean, I'm sure there were people that didn't like that he was gay, or
was he out? Do people know?
I think so, but I can't because I didn't even know he was gay until like maybe when my mom told me how he passed, because I forced her to tell me. I was like, you know, what happened to Uncle Tino? Like, why did he pass? You know, but yeah, I don't know, like, because that was one of those things. I was just like being a kid, and like, I mean, I liked church because of the music, but I never, like, I mean, my mom like was a hardcore Christian, and I mean, now like she's more lax about things and everything, but back then, I mean, it was every Sunday with the Bible study and children's church, and then like Wednesdays and Fridays, I think. And I mean, it was just, at some point it got to be too much for me, because I'm just like, why are we always here? Why, you know, before I go outside to play, after I come back in, you know, before we go to school, like, and then it was like we could only watch like religious films that we had, and there was only so many of them, and we had probably
which ones? Because I grew up very similar fashion.
Oh my gosh, like there's movies that I can remember.
Well, how old are you?
33.
Oh, so we're gonna be. I'm 31.
Yeah. So we're Oh my gosh.
So like the not, what's it called? I'm gonna think of something. You keep thinking of them.
Well, there was like, okay, I remember there was like, I'm trying to think.
the talking donut. Do you remember that thing?
I don't know if I saw that one. Like, I know everyone saw like Veggie Tales and stuff.
Well, Veggie Tales, I mean, that's,
everyone, but
that's legendary.
But there was a company that my mom like ordered the religious movies from.
Yes, me too.
And then so they had all those
Buttercream. No.
Oh, Buttercream Game.
Buttercream Game.
I think. Yeah, dude. The one,
yes.
Wasn't there one where the kid, like, there was the one kid that got in trouble, and did he get sent to Chicago or like a New York?
No, it was always some lifelong lesson to be learned. It's so corny. Buttercream Game, man.
No, dude, for real. And then it was, because I mean, we had those, and then there was a ton of those, and then
the Left Behind stuff.
Yeah,
the Left Behind series. What was the one with the cartoon that would talk? The guy would draw it. Man, there's so many.
That's what I'm saying, because like, and now that you're saying stuff,
like
I'm
the
like,
heyday too. The 90s was like the heyday of like direct to VHS corny Christian movies that you'd watch with your, at church, Sunday school. Yeah,
and I think some of it wasn't that bad. Like some of it, you're like, this is solid. Mm-hmm. And it was because like the Buttercream Gang, they weren't just like full on like throw it in your face Christian all the way through, or like a story of Jesus or whatever. Mm-hmm. But then like there was like a cartoon series too. Like there was like it would break down like Abraham, Isaac, and just story to story, and they were like half-hour long tapes and stuff.
What was that really dark one from like the 80s? It was a cartoon about this guy's journey through like life. It brought up the the sword of sort of truth, breastplate of righteousness, belt of whatever.
I'm rusty on
helmet of whatever. Oh man, you know what I'm talking about? And the guy used these things to like fight off like
because it was the armor. I can't remember
armor
what they
of
break.
the spirit or I don't know.
Because I think it was the armor, and then they broke down every section of the armor to be something. I can't. Oh man. But then yeah, there was like there were like the adult versions, which I mean like there would be like this. Man, what is that one? It might have been like Abraham or something. Like it was like one of their names, and I mean it might have been like Laura Flynn Boyle or something was in one of these. I know for sure like one of those ladies. I'd have to Google it, but I think she was in the one that I'm trying to think of. And I mean it was just like they would full on like they're out filming in like a desert, and like they're living in the tents or like these houses that were like they looked like you were in those time frame. Like in the cartoons when you see them, they made these to where they looked exactly like in these cartoons. And you're like, man, like it is dusty and like nothing, the ground's nothing but dirt and like they're washing themselves in the river. But then like you're watching the story play out. I think it was Abraham, and it was like he had married. I think, who was it? Because one of the ladies, she was barren. She couldn't have kids. So, but then I can't remember. She was like the older. What was it? He married the older sister, but he wanted to marry the younger sister, but the dad made him marry both of them.
Drawing blanks on name Sarah?
Yeah, I think it might be Sarah. It might be Sarah.
It's been a long time since I heard these stories.
Because it might have been, I'm trying to think, because it might have been Cain and Abel's, was it Cain and Abel's moms?
Wouldn't Cain and Abel's mom be
no, I'm thinking of.
Wouldn't that be
Adam and Eve?
Yeah,
I'm trying to, because my brain's drawing a, who is it? Dang it.
I know, it's been a long time. I'm trying to think of these shows and there were so many movies and TV shows.
I want to say like Family First Films or something like that.
Yes, that sounds really familiar.
Yeah. But yeah, like those films, I grew up on them. Like, and like we didn't even.
I think I blocked them out of my mind because I was like so over it. That and like WTTW, like that's all I was allowed to watch. No, we didn't have cable.
Yeah, we didn't either.
If I saw a PG-13 movie, it had to be approved by parents first.
Yeah.
Even at 13 or 14 or 15.
Yeah, because the only time so my mom had, I think, 15 brothers and sisters.
Oh
yeah.
My God.
Like I don't even know my dad. I'm like, I don't have room for that side of my family.
I feel you. My mom had 11 brothers and sisters. So
yes,
in this house. So,
oh wow.
Yeah, so I feel you.
Holy crap.
Yeah.
Dad's nuts. Yeah, because we're that age group too. Like that's when everyone was having a bunch of like 10 kids. Like
I don't have 8
any, or 9. Yeah, I got 2. So
yeah, 2. Yeah, I got none, and I'm like, man, I can't imagine having 10, 11, 8 kids. Like by the time my grandma was my age, I think she had already like 6 or 7 kids.
Jeez. Yeah, and I mean that's still like it's like that's not a ton, but it's like you get above 5 and you're like, that's a lot of kids.
Past 4. I'm just like, what do you do with that? There's 2 of each. Like I think that's enough. It was a very old, it still is, but a very old Christian way of doing stuff. You don't believe in contraceptions. Every child is a blessing. It's a gift. It's life. It's spirituality coming, to fruition through people. There's a lot of reasons behind it. Whether or not those are sound, logical reasons, that's debatable. But I know why people did that a lot. And also, people didn't live as long. 100 years ago, kids were dying left and right.
Right.
Usually, like young age. Moms died too in birth. So it was a different time. But now, between people like realizing the resources we have, the education, financially, how expensive it can be to try to give a kid a proper life. You can definitely live paycheck to paycheck and not do too many extravagant things. But if you want your kids to have good teeth, good eyes, good health, good education, maybe play some sports, play some instruments. It costs a lot of money.
Yeah, all that.
To do it well, it costs money. Tutor, they need help. They're weak in math. They might need some tutoring. Got to pay someone $30-$40 an hour to come in and do it.
Yeah, and that's not...
It's not cheap.
No.
And, but we didn't grow up with that, you know? Like, I needed tutoring with stuff, and it just wasn't there, so I just didn't get it.
Yeah, because trust me, like where we grew up, I mean, there was that neighbor with the dog, and then the other side, it was a neighbor that worked at Wonder Bread. And I mean, like, I'm just like, it was two total opposites.
What neighborhood you grew up in?
Well, it was Scott and 11th Street, like, and it's funny because like right a street down, it's called Gain Street, and it's one of those things where you grow up in a neighborhood, but you don't really like, you know, the things that have happened in your neighborhood, but you don't realize that this doesn't happen in everyone's neighborhood.
Give an example.
Okay. Let me, because there's a few. So like, let me. All right, which one do I want to give? Because there's some like I'll give a few of them. Like
whatever you want.
So all right, so my neighbor to the left of us, like, and this can get dark for some people, especially the animal lovers. So like this dude, he had this fence, and it was like, you know, it was just like a chain link fence, and you know, it was like maybe like 4 foot tall, maybe a little higher. And he had like, I think this mulberry tree, and like grew in between the fence. And I think there was like an old fence partially still there too. So it like had the extra, you know, balance to the tree, and the tree was just not moving. Well, he had, it was like a boxer pit bull brindle mix or whatever. And like, I would come outside, you know, kicking it. And like this dog, like, I mean, 24/7, no matter what's going on, this dog's outside. This dog's energy level is just through the roof. Like, you would watch that dog jump up. There's a branch probably maybe 2-3 inches higher than the actual fence, and it would just grab the branch and just, like, you would watch it. Like, when you watch a video of a pit bull or something lockjawing like a rope and just swinging around having fun. Well, this is that dog's fun. And, like, that dog, like, I didn't go in that fence. Like, I mean, I used to go in that fence when we were younger, but once he got that dog, like, we were probably, like, junior high or something. Well, like, I remember, like, our house, like, my great-grandma, I think, my great-grandma grew up in that house. So it was, like, it's an older house. And, like, so the walls are, like, pretty thin still and everything. Well, then, like, you could hear him, like, beating this dog with a 2x4. Like, I mean, like, you would hear it. And it was, like, it's one of those things, you're like, that doesn't seem right, but I'm a kid. And also this neighbor, like, was selling drugs and stuff. So it's like, it's one of those situations. And it was like, it was a messed up situation to be in, because it was like, you understand that this isn't right, but then you're like, well, what can I do? I'm a kid. And two, I grew up with that. So I don't even like,
it's normalized to you.
Yeah. It's like, I think it's wrong, but it's not my dog. But then, like,
what did your mom say about it?
I mean, it's just one of those things. Like, I don't know. Like, she never said, like, that's what I'm saying. Like, and like, she's schizophrenic and bipolar, so that probably played a role in it somewhat. But, like, I think it was just one of the, I think on her end too, it was just like, because he was a nice person to us. Like, we didn't see this, like we would hear him yelling or fighting and stuff inside of his house, obviously, because, like, he obviously wasn't 100% good person because he's doing certain stuff. And I'm like, you know, I'm not going to, like, the dog thing was really a big thing for me, but I'm just like, what do I do? Like, my neighbor, even though he's not scary to me, if you're beating a dog and I hear you arguing with your wife, and I don't know if it's physical or not, because I can't hear that much, but I can hear you beating your dog with a 2x4. But then you're like, hey, if y'all need something, hey, y'all need something, just come over and ask. Like,
yeah,
it's kind of this, like,
that's so confusing as a kid.
Exactly. And it's just like, I literally never saw this dude, like, do certain stuff. Like, I never saw him beat his dog. Like, but then I'm just like, you would see his dog, and, like, this man, like, couldn't let his own children, he had to hold his dog back. Like, this dog did not, like, and it was so messed up because there's 2 dogs. There was the evil dog, and then there was this other one that, I shit you not, never barked in its life. Like, I mean, like, you didn't even know that dog was there unless you actually saw the dog, and that dog was always sitting there. but it was almost like that dog was never there because this one's just so active for the both of them. But like I would watch this dude try and let his own kids in, and the dog would try and attack his kids. Like it was, and I mean his like literally his kids were there. Like I mean they weren't, obviously some of them weren't old enough to be there before the dog was, so the dog, you know, couldn't grow up with them, but the dog wasn't there to be a pet. It was there to protect what was inside the house. And I'm just like, holy crap. Well, I remember this had to have been maybe, I don't know, maybe 8th grade or whatever. And they ended up putting the dogs down. Well, this neighbor, which now that I think about it, so he had like a wooden banister put in, you know, to get up and down the steps. Because there's like sidewalk after you get out the car past the little grass. There's a sidewalk, and then there's like 4 or 5 steps up, and then there's a fence. And then like you have to open the fence, like you have to step down a step just to open the fence all the way. Well, instead of putting the mailbox at the bottom, which makes sense, like I'm like, hey, even like I'm not condoning anything you do, but it's like, you know, your dog's an evil dog that you forced to be that way. It bites people. We know this at some point because I'll get to some of the situations where I didn't see exactly, but I know for a fact someone get bit. Well, he put it on top of the fence where the dog couldn't jump out, but it could get its head over the fence. So you get too close to that fence, it can bite you. Well, like, I mean, I would sit on my porch, being a kid, teenager, whatever, sit there and watch the mailman have to time it. Like, and I mean, like, it's, if there's a situation for a male person to call something in about a dog that's not out of the cage, but it's trying to attack him, it's this. And I mean, literally, sometimes it would take him 30 seconds because he knows the dog at this point. He just, he knows the tendency of, all right, blah, 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 was going to jump. Okay, there we go. And then just time it. But I mean, I've seen it where the dog almost bit him. And then since my mom was in the National Guard still after she got discharged, I think on my birthday from the Army, and then she had stayed in the National Guard for a while. But we were with a relative that lived a few blocks away for, I think she was on her 2-week setup for just training or whatnot. And they always watched the news, like probably 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock, whatever time news came on. And they're like, you guys' neighbor's dog bit the mailman. And I guess, I don't know the details because I don't remember for sure, but I think she said the dog got like a thumb or like something like fully off. Yeah. So they put both the dogs down, which makes sense. But
was that dog, did that guy have that dog trained, because you said he sold drugs to like kind of protect him?
Yeah, he didn't have it trained. He just, like, he beat that dog to the point where it was only scared of him.
So it would just kill anything that came near for protection, but not him.
Yeah.
Like, that's a very common thing amongst trying to protect yourself, like having a pit bull, Rottweiler, German Shepherd.
Yeah.
They're very strangely, like, they got one master, one owner.
Yeah. And I mean, that's my thing. I think it was to the point that it, like, I mean, that dog had to have a lot of trauma. I mean, because as many times as I heard him beating that dog, and I mean, like, I'm sure there were injuries that I never saw, but I mean, the heart of me, like, I wanted to do something, but I'm like, this dude's a scary freaking person. Like, regardless of what he shows me, what he doesn't show me is the scariest thing. Because if you don't have a heart for an animal like that, and that's what you think, you obviously have some sort of mental issue yourself if you don't give a crap about something you paid for.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'd seen this dude freaking trade, like, I saw puppies that I only saw once in my life that he, you know, traded rims or whatever for. Like, I'd seen transactions, and I was like, oh, is that I've seen like blue nose and red nose pit bulls that I saw one time. And he had those 2 dogs in there, and then you're like, oh, where'd that puppy go that you just, and I'm like.
Use it as currency.
Yeah, and my thing, I just assumed he was purchased. I mean, don't get me wrong, he could have sold the puppy or whatever, but my thing was, I think he was just trying to get another dog in there, but that dog wouldn't allow another one.
Was that the only, like, neighbor around you that had, like, dogs like that?
I had others, but like they weren't on that. Like, they didn't. None of them like dog fought or anything. It was just like they had pets.
Okay.
Because it was like there was like one neighbor that had like a Rottweiler that like they had her pretty trained. Like, I mean, if you took off running as a kid, they're like, don't run because he's not, he thinks you're playing.
Yeah.
And he's a Rottweiler. So it's like, if he thinks you're playing, he might tackle you.
Yeah.
And then others had, they just had their pet. Most of them probably had like Rottweilers and like pit bulls and stuff. And then like some of the other neighbors might have had like little yippers and stuff. But yeah, he was like, I always tell people, I was like, you can't find me. Like, when I worked for FedEx, like I was never scared of anyone's dogs because I know, like, don't get me wrong, like I know any dog can bite you, but I also,
your threshold is high.
Yeah, because I'm like, unless you like lunge at me or something, or like, I'm cautious because if you're if you're a boxer, like boxers are big dogs, and like there was one like super rich setup that I delivered to, and like literally their driveway was like 100 feet, and then like you walk up to their front porch and you're just like because they always like every holiday they had like they would have like 5 foot tall nutcrackers. And like there's like 4 or 5 of them, and then there's just a bunch of other stuff. And I'm like, every time I would walk up, I'm like, I would think of Christmas because I'm like, you couldn't see inside their house, but it was like they had like crystal or just just super nice windows, and like you're just like, I can only imagine you walking in and there's a big ass Christmas tree with just like almost like Home Alone when like when all those presents were just
the second Home Alone.
Yeah,
in New York.
I think so.
Yeah. Yeah, man. So like, did growing up in that situation, when did you first leave that neighborhood?
Like, so with my relatives having so many of them and my mom being in National Guard, and then like even like when their like schizophrenia was starting to kick in more, like we would go over to Rock Island a lot. It's like there's like the Centennial Bridge and like a few other bridges we have. It's like, and like we lived close. We weren't downtown, but we were probably like 3 blocks from the downtown, like this hill. And my grandma and like most of my relatives grew up in Rock Island. Like all my aunts and uncles, I think, except for maybe 1 or 2, grew up in Rock Island and went to Rocky. And then at some point, we just moved into my the house my grandma owned after her mom passed. So we would kind of go to Rock. Like I kind of grew up in Rock Island and Davenport, so it was like going to Rock Island was like and staying with family was kind of a little vacation to me. And it was like, I don't know, there was like some of my relatives lived in like not so great neighborhoods too, but it wasn't like ours wasn't much different. I just had that one neighbor that made this experience just so drastic. Like I would hear I grew up hearing gunshots and stuff, and I've even had relatives where like someone did they didn't do a drive-by to hurt one of my relatives, but it was like one of my cousins, I think, or something, was like one of her best friends was like in a gang or something. And
were gangs prevalent where you grew up?
Yeah, we have stuff there. It's not I wouldn't say like Chicago level, but it's definitely. It gets worse every year for us too, because people will sit there and like when you go to the news, read the Facebook news posts and everything. People are like, oh, all these people from Chicago. No, dude, like they're I worked at a Burger King. I'll put this. Worked at this Burger King across from North Park Mall in Davenport, which is like our main mall that we have, and I worked there like 3-4 different times, just like if I was in between jobs, because I was a good worker. So like they'd hire me back. Like even if they knew I was only going to be there 2 months, they would hire me back, And there was one day, like I had this scar. I'll tell about Texas at some point. But the lady saw my scar above my eye, and she's like, "Oh, how'd you do that?" I was like, "Oh, it was an accident that I got into in Texas. I'll tell you about it sometime." Which I don't even know if I got to it. And she's like, "Oh, that's cool." And she like pulls up her sleeve, I think it was. And I was like, that's either a bullet hole or you got stabbed. She's like, "Yeah, those little BB guns hurt a little bit." And I was just like,
BB guns?
Yeah, like she was just downplaying being shot. And like it was just like this most genuine thing. Like she just kind of had to play it off because, people that have trauma, like, or, you go through something and like you've lived to tell the story, and you're like, you're over it, or whatever.
You make fun with it,
yeah, because you're taking that from the negative, try and put it positive best you can.
Yeah.
And she's like, I had that one, and she's like, I got in a different situation, and neither of the situations was she the target. Like, it was either a drive, but she didn't go into detail, but she was moved from Chicago to live there. And I'm like, never once in my life have I even questioned where she was from, like anything negative from her. And I'm just like, and reading, and I mean, there were like 3 other people that worked there and they all knew each other. And I think they were from a certain like neighborhood and everything. And I'm just like, and like we were just having a moment of them just talking about, back home, and like not in detail or anything, but just, just telling me stuff that I don't know about Chicago. Cause it's like, I mean, it's like you watch the news and like you see some of the negative stuff, but I mean, it's like, I also grew up in a rough neighborhood. So I'm like, I know that behind the scenes of what they say something, like I had friends dropping me off at home and they're like, you live here? And like, they weren't being judgmental. They just were like I've always been articulate, and like we always had hand-me-down clothes. So I never dressed the way that, like, I would always wear button-ups and stuff because it was like some of my cousins, I loved their style. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't like, I mean, I would wear FUBU and I would wear like baggy clothes and stuff too. But I mean, that was never really my style. Like you just pick it up over time. And so I never dressed that certain way, and I didn't speak like my brother. Like, you could talk to my brother right now, and like he's done like 12 years in prison, and like
how old is he compared to you?
I think what's he 30?
He's younger.
Yeah, he'll be
12 years.
Yeah.
What did he go right when he became an adult?
Well, pretty much, and
Holy
like
cow.
and like he just I think he had like a learning disability, and then like. However, they say like behavioral disorders and stuff, and like we have different dads, and it's like I think that his genes to an extent, because I mean it's like you meet his dad's other sons, and I mean they're all like they all have something that is just like mentally, it's just like I don't know, like it's almost like they have rage,
predisposed to it genetically, and then maybe their environment. Just really brought it out.
Yeah, exactly.
So, but you're both very different because you have the same mom but different dads.
Yeah, and then, and I mean it was crazy because I mean like and all it was he would steal all the time. I mean, even when we were kids, it was just like, and like we were on food stamps and everything, and I'm just like my mom would give us like, I remember the booklet, and she's like, rip some out and was like, hey, go get some milk at the gas station or whatever we would get, and then here's some for you guys to get some candy and a soda or whatever you want to do.
What, just you two? Just 2 brothers?
Yeah, because I was old enough for us to get around and stuff. Mm-hmm. And plus, I mean, it was only a few blocks away, so it wasn't too far. But yeah, like we would go in place, and there were times where we were older, like maybe like 6th grade, and he's like 4th grade or something. I'm like, hey, we're going in here. Mom gave me stuff for us to buy something. Don't steal anything. Like, before we went in there. Like, I'm being an adult in the situation trying to tell you,
12-year-old adult.
Yeah. Don't do anything, to get us in trouble.
What sparked that in you? If
him. Like, I mean, literally.
So his bad behavior made you want to be a better person? Like, to try to be more on top of stuff? Or what made you not steal stuff if you grew up in the same situation?
Well, and that's the thing. It's like, I did. Like, I think the last time, because I did steal a few times. I mean, it was just, I think it was unavoidable because it was like I saw something and I wanted it and we couldn't afford it. But I'm like,
it's also normalized, in those areas, low income, working class, off the grid.
Yeah.
You feel no one's there for you anyway. So
right.
You're just kind of, I mean, I know it too. And I didn't have nearly as hard as a situation, and I'm familiar with that feeling and that type of mentality. So yeah.
And it's like, it's just like I remember I think the last time I remember consciously like stealing something was like we had this place called Eagles. It's like just like your local grocery store or something. And I remember there was like, this was back in the heyday of Pokemon, and it was like a fruit snack container, and they were like, oh, like 1 in 12 chances of getting like a certain card or whatever. And like, I was like looking around, I'm like, I'm gonna steal this Pokemon card. And it's just like, opened it up and I took the card out. Well, I'm in like I took the box to like the fruit and vegetable area. And like, so it's like, there's nothing hiding me. Like, if a worker's right there, they're going to see me. And it's like, especially like, I'm trying to hurry up. So I'm not thinking, I'm just opening it up, take the card out. And the guy's like, hey, what are you doing? I'm like, shit. He's like, where are your parents at? I was like, oh, they're not here. They're at home. My mom and my aunt are in the grocery store shopping. Aww. So I run out and I get in the car. Yeah. And I mean, like, he didn't go after me over, like, it's one of those situations where he probably watched where I went and watched me get in the car and then he just left it at that.
Yeah.
But I'm just like,
kid was like, called it a day.
Yeah. And it's just like, and then that's when I'm like, nope. I mean, like,
you got scared and you're like, you know what?
Scared the shit out of me. Mm-hmm. And, but then like my brother just never, that part of him just never happened. It was just like...
He never had that fear?
Yeah. And I mean, and that's my thing. Because I had friends that, like, up until even, like, high school, like, would go to the mall and, like, full on just, like, knew how to steal shit. Mm-hmm. And I mean, it's just like, it's my friend. I'm not going to, like, tell on them. Like, I'm just like, you know, whatever. Because I mean, it'd be, like, CDs and, like, certain shit.
Dumb stuff.
Yeah. Stupid stuff. And, so, but it was just him. He was just never... And that was the thing. He was never smart about it. It's like, I'm not condoning doing something bad, but I'm like, it's like, if you're going to be a thief, either make it worth being a thief or like at least be smart. Like, I'm a dude that loves Law and Order. Like I used to want to be a detective and stuff. And like, cause I didn't want to be like a cop. Like, I mean, don't get me wrong. Being a cop, I have an uncle that was a cop and stuff. So, you know, there's good people out there, but at the end of the day, like, I was just like, nah, like I want something more than that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I wanted to feel like I was like, probably like in more control than just like a regular police officer. Mm-hmm. But at some point I think just music just kind of just, no, I can't do that, you know? But, I lost my focus.
Your brother.
Oh yeah.
You would tell him when you go into a grocery store, like, don't do it. And he'd do it anyway.
Yeah. I mean, it just didn't make any sense to him. Like, I don't like, and that's my thing. I never sat down with him, like, because it's like there were times where it would, but he would shut down. And I mean, me, like, even to this day, I still have issues of like shutting down. And like, especially like if me and my lady are getting in an argument or if there's something I really don't want to talk about, I will literally just shut down and I won't even talk. And I mean, and it's like, I know it's there, but it's just like, it's like without going through therapy to like fix those issues, it's like, because that costs money. Like,
yeah.
And you also have to have time. And it's like, and that's what sucks. But
isn't that messed up though? Like,
it is.
Therapy's great, and I have nothing but, you know, respect for people who choose to go through it that might need it or at least curious about it. But if you don't have money and insurance, then what?
Yeah,
like it's a luxury. Mm-hmm. Like every person I know that has gone through therapy and loves it and done it and has done it enough, they usually have some type of money, some type of income, or their parents did or something. And everybody I know who's been very broke, low income, poverty line, they're like, therapy? The heck? Like, I got my therapy. It's School of Hard Knocks. It's
right.
Maybe I'll commit more crimes. That's my therapy. Like, what else am I supposed to do? Like, no one's there for me. Yeah. There's no doctors to help me. Like, that vocabulary is not even there for people like that. And it's unfortunate. Therapy, mental health therapy, physical therapy. You know how many times someone who's, you know, low income gets hurt and then they just have like a messed up issue for the rest of their life because they didn't go through physical therapy? Yeah. You know, they broke a wrist and they're like, it's fine, because they've been used to just fending for themselves. Yeah. They didn't realize you should get it casted, go through these steps, see a physical therapist. In 6 months, you're probably fine. Yeah. No, they just like, it's fine. They just put a splint on it. They still used it and they have a gimp wrist for the rest of their life. It scales up in the quality of like how to take care of yourself with money. Money is longevity. Yeah. It shouldn't be, but it is. And it takes an investment and education to know how to take care of yourself physically, mentally, emotionally, and then those three combined, and whatever you believe in, it might add up to a spiritual health, you know, but it's unfortunate. And like what you're saying, like you break down that, I mean you're 33, it could be 33 years of that dog getting hit by a 2x4, your brother going to prison for 12 years as a kid probably. You know, your mom, you mentioned those mental health situations, and your dad, you said, wasn't around. Like, that's heavy.
Yeah, there's a lot, but
that's heavy, and I don't mean to bring it up.
No,
it's
fine
to highlight what you've already said. Yeah, that's heavy, man.
Yeah, it's like a lot of it comes out in my music, because music for me, like I did choral music up until like elementary for us, because I mean I know there are some schools out there that it's like full on choral music in like elementary, because like, you know, like there's just schools like that. But like, you know, it's just like music class in elementary, and then like, you know, a little bit more serious at the junior high that I went to, and then like high school, like the high school I went to, like all state for vocalists, and like our music program, like orchestra and band, like they were a really good program. And I remember like my senior year when I made all state, we sent maybe like 10 kids in the vocalists. And I mean, the choir, can't remember, it's like either 800 or 600 kids. And I mean, like we sent like 10 to 12 from our school, and that was just the
you
choir.
Were in it?
Yeah.
You were in both?
No, I was just in choir. Yeah.
So you did that all through junior high and high school?
Yeah. And I mean, yeah, because me singing started for sure in like elementary, but I didn't know what I was doing. Like I was just singing.
Right.
And I mean, that's how I learned how to sing, was like by imitation.
Did you have any lessons or anything?
No.
See, like that's another thing. Like, what if you had wealthy parents that saw that ability in you at what, 10?
Yeah.
And they started paying for, you know, $100 lessons from someone.
Yeah.
Imagine, like, not that you can't get to those places naturally, but you'll pass up 5 to 8 years of trying in 1 year of someone who really knows what they're doing, teaching you and keeping that discipline. You know, that's the beauty of a proper lesson, tutoring, education is like, yeah, you could read books and do trial and error and just try stuff in life and figure it out.
Yeah.
But a proper education, a proper mentor fast tracks so much. You can bypass all the mislearnings and all the improper techniques.
Yeah, because you ask questions or they can
just know.
Yeah.
They might have 20 years of experience. They'll see your breathing, like, no, that's not right. Do this. Because once you learn the wrong breathing and you get to singing,
hard to
what wires together, fires together. To relearn that in your brain is not easy.
Well, and that's the crazy thing, because like it sucks that I didn't, but at the same time, like literally I have an exact story. Like, so I didn't come out of my singing, like I knew I could sing and I could hold a note and all that situational stuff. Like, but I learned even choral singing, like Alleluia, Alleluia, all that stuff. Like I learned by listening and being in the classroom.
Or church.
Yeah, but it was like our stuff was like gospel and like soul, and it was like completely different. We're up there singing like, you know, Catholic hymns and stuff, like, you know, in that realm of music. And I remember it was like the choir singer, like the people that were only in choir, and then like the orchestra kids it was just the two groups. And I'm singing and I'm thinking I'm like sharp or flat or whatever, because some of the girls kept some of the altos kept turning around, and I'm like, crap. So I kind of, you know, I go down in my tone and stuff, and then volume, because I'm like, all right, my sharp, flat, what am I doing? Because there wasn't like a smile, or like I couldn't tell one way or another. Well, then when my volume went down, they're like, no, they turned back around, they're like, keep singing, you know. I was like, oh, I'm doing good. So I'm like, all right, confidence is back, and I just go back to class. Class gets over, and a girl stops me and she's like, hey, who's your vocal coach? And I'm like, I don't have one. Like, just naturally, because this has caught me completely off guard. I say that, and literally there wasn't anything else out of her mouth. She turns around, her head goes down, and she just power walks off. And she was like all-state, I think, vocalist, and might have been an all-state, like whatever, I can't remember what instrument she played in the orchestra, but she was like, I think all-state in both of these. And I'm like, I had this like halfway smirk, but like once she like did that, because I was kind of proud. I was like, I don't have one. Like,
oh, so she was upset that you were that good.
Yeah. So after, and I was like, as soon as her head went down, my you know, like my joy went away, because I'm like, oh, because my brain was like, she's crying, and like I couldn't move because I didn't know what to do, because I'm like, what do I say to this like, because my thing was I started singing because I loved music, and you know, my uncle sang, but then over time it was my therapy, especially by high school. Like that was my outlet, because even like, I mean, there was no avoiding like anything in my life. So it was like all the time when I would hang out with the neighborhood kids, like some of them got it that I was just different. Like I spoke different, I acted different. I didn't, I just was completely different than most of the kids.
What do you think that was? If that was your world, what sparked this difference?
I mean, I think I gradually picked it up from my relatives because like a lot of them, like most of them went to school and stuff, like accountants, police officers, some are engineers, some are, other stuff. Like, and I mean, a lot, like there weren't many of them that sounded like they were like, I guess, ghetto or anything like that. Like we all spoke like we spoke like humans speak, but we didn't have an accent, I guess, to us.
That accent I've recently found out is technically now called African American Vernacular English.
Oh wow. Okay.
Instead of being called Ebonics.
Yeah. Okay.
I only recently found that out. African American Vernacular English. I think that's what it's called.
Wow.
And that's like what you're referring to.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
the type of the dialect of growing up, low income, whether it's an inner city or a rural area, just being away from people and hearing certain words, proper words, misusing sentences and having that more like a weaker structure of just the lack of education and reinforcement of like, say it this way, not that way. No one correcting you.
Yeah.
Just learning stuff from the streets and on your own with other kids. When your education is just the local kids around you.
Yeah, you're going to talk.
You're going to speak that way.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, I mean, so you learned a lot from like the older peers in your life, like your aunts, uncles.
Yeah, I think, and it was just natural. Plus, I mean, I don't know, like it was so weird because like I've always been the way I am. Like there was never like, I mean, I've never been sure of anything, but I've always just kind of gone on my my path. Like, so it was like, even like if I didn't like something, I didn't like it. Like if I didn't want to wear a FUBU shirt, I didn't want to wear it. I was like, it's not my style. Like, and like, I mean, but they would pick on me and they'd be like, oh, why do you talk so white? And I mean, and that, so it was like, I grew up for a long time, like probably not till after high school. Like, cause at some point I just didn't give a shit. Like I was just like these people have problems. Like I'm not even like, I would still answer all the time. Cause I'm like, I talk the way I do. That's just what it is. Or I would give them an explanation, like my relatives. But then it's like some of my relatives, people probably think they're uppity, and they're not. Like literally, like I've seen some of my relatives, like when they're mad, like they look mad as any gangster out here. They sound like that gangster because I mean some of them I don't know their backstories, but I know they've been through some stuff. Like so
that's interesting. You say that. So your peers, I'm assuming other black boys, like,
and black girls too, yeah,
black girls talking down to you about your like more kind of just like more proper way of speaking English. Yeah. It's a spectrum of speaking. There's $15 words you could use all day,
right,
and then there's slang, right? And so you're speaking a little more clear, maybe enunciating better, using more proper words.
Yeah.
And they're like saying, in a negative way, they're saying like, why are you speaking like a white person? Or why you speak like up speaking to us,
Exactly.
And then in the world of being, white, if you speak in a way that's more like what you're talking about, more, I don't know, just not as proper, more slang, people like, why you speak, like they call that bad. So like, it's weird how like when you're speaking your peers are like, why are you doing that? Like you're being belittled or something. Like they feel like they're being belittled.
And honestly, that might, I mean, because looking back, I like especially like the older I've gotten, like I process things on my own because I have to. Like we were speaking before, it's like, well, why is this a certain way? Well, over time, I'm just like, I mean, there's obviously various of reasons. Because one, it could have been them taking it defensively, like, why is he talking to us?
Like you're talking down to them.
But then it's like at the same time, at times, I know it was just a genuine question, and there wasn't no sugarcoating, or there wasn't a correct way of going about it. I mean, there could have been in my brain, but I'm like, they just went to the point because they went to the point of where their brain naturally goes, and they spoke their mind on it.
And but it's weird how relative it is.
Yeah,
like to them, you were speaking like down to them. And then there's probably people in your life that you're like, are they speaking down to me? And I meet people all the time that can speak more clearly than me and know even more fancier words.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm like, are they speaking down to me? Yeah. I think it's all about your intent. How are you doing it?
Yeah.
You know, there's that condescending, like, upspeak.
Yeah. And
like,
the execution of it, too.
Yeah,
it's just
how are you doing it? Are you belittling? Are you literally talking down to me?
Yeah.
Or are you just speaking in your natural, vernacular, your natural vocabulary? And
because does your brain sit up here and like you don't even realize, and like your people skills aren't at that level. Like you're intellectually a genius, but your people skills are like way down.
Yeah, exactly. You got to read a room. Like
exactly.
Sometimes you might. Excuse me.
You're good.
You might know the right terminology for something. You might have a background in some type of science or technology.
Yeah.
But if you're in a room with a bunch of just people, and they don't know what you're talking about, then why are you talking like that? Like, if I'm going to talk to you about sound and audio, music, stuff that I know a lot about, I'm not going to like use all the fancy words and the scientific information, unless you ask that. I'm not going to like do that. I'm just going to be like, like microphone picks up sound. Keep it simple, normalize it a little bit. Not going to explain point A to point B of the whole signal flow to someone that's like, I don't know what you're talking. And then they feel like, why are you talking? Like, what are you doing? So it takes people skills. It takes time and you learn that. And it's not kind to do that to people when you know. Like, oh, I'm going to be like the smartest person in the room.
That's when the ego kicks in and you're just like, oh, this guy's a dick. I hate him.
Yeah, that's it's something I've had a few conversations with people I've met that are clearly quite bright people. And I'll always give them advice, like, not saying I'm bright, but just experienced enough to talk to a lot of people.
Yeah.
The smartest people, there's two things. You should always, the smarter you are, the more you should know how little you know.
Yeah.
And be aware of that. And second, the smartest person knows how to not always try to be the smartest person. Know how to listen and like learn from anybody, because language is a complicated thing, but it's not the only indicator of intelligence.
Yeah.
Experience and education, those things combined, they're very different. Some people might think like, oh, this person's really smart. They have a PhD from University of Chicago or Cornell.
Yeah.
But I've met some high school dropouts that blew my mind. Yeah, I met some people.
I've met some too. I'm
right?
just like, what?
Now, they might not be using the crazy language and terminology, but if you just sit there and listen and use what language they do know how to use, and you listen to it, it's amazing what you can learn. And you start to realize how like elastic and plastic intelligence is. It stretches and ebbs and flows, and we have these tests, these quantitative tests of like IQ, but man, those can only do so much. Your ACT, SAT can only do so much. Like my ACT score is hilarious. It's so bad.
Yeah, I didn't even take it ever.
No, mine was so bad. I was so anti testing that I would like try my best to like do the worst. Like I got one of the worst scores in my 8th grade test to place you in high school.
Yeah.
So they placed me in all like the intermediate test, like classes, like all the classes that are like prerequisites to like the normal class,
like ITBS and stuff like
just like integrated rating and like a science before biology, like all that stuff. And I was like, I got into that and I was like, oh no, what? I probably should. I went to my advisor, my counselor, and I was like, I think I'm in the wrong classes. She's like, no, like this, your tests were this and that. And I was like, come on, I did that on purpose. Like I had a friend who did the same thing. We were both put in these classes. And these classes are necessary. They're for people who truly have serious learning disabilities.
Yeah, yeah.
And I was just like, I don't belong in here. I should be in like at least the normal ones. And they boosted me up after a week when they realized like I was being an idiot. And I was deliberately doing bad.
Yeah, you're just being
try to screw the system.
Yeah.
And I did it all the time. I still didn't learn. I did it on my ACT and I regret it so much, but I was like being such a rebel. I hated that that's the way you would quantify a person's ability. I know they have to do something. It's the best way we've come up with, maybe. I think there's better ways. But
well, it's like, especially, it's like at some point you might have had people, like the majority of people were like cool with that way. But it's like, obviously when you got to that point, you just were like, either this is boring or this is frustrating or annoying. And it's like, you got to adapt at some point. Because it's like, even if you have a few students doing that, guess what? You have an issue on your hand because you're not taking it serious. And it's like, and it's like you literally just said because you didn't like, that's how we're going to do it. Like, there has to be a better way I mean, because especially it's like, I don't know, everyone's clearly not gonna test the right way, because some people are great at tests, but then like they might not be as book smart. But like you obviously, like you could learn at their same level or more, but you didn't give a crap.
Well, everyone learns differently.
Exactly.
I've spoken with people that like, yeah, I had a 32 in my ACT, and they are so dull. They can't even like be a human being sometimes.
Yeah.
You know, and then I've spoken with people who never took the ACT, and I'm like, I learned so much from them, and I don't know, it's weird. It's weird. The whole like, you know, quantifying like GPAs.
Yeah.
What school do you go to? How much money do you make?
Right.
How many records have you sold? All these, I try not to think about it and worry about it and just kind of do what feels natural, you know?
Right.
And you seem like someone does the same with your music, you know?
Yeah, I try. And it's like, and I mean, that's why I like music so much too, because you can do anything with it. I mean, it's like when you were talking about earlier about, you know, people necessarily like, oh, this guy looks like a punk rocker, but they don't like. Even to this day, I'm still like there's a band from Iowa that's called Closet Witch. First time I met them, I didn't see them play. We were doing this like Labor Day festival at Rostock's in Rock Island, one of the venues we have, and they were just in the crowd. Like literally, I think most of the crowd are relatives or like friends of mine that came to see, and there's like maybe 20 people tops, and like 4 of them are standing right there and like, hey man, good set and everything. They're literally what do they call it? Like mathcore or something. Like they're heavy.
Math rock?
Yeah,
Progressive rock?
Well, they're like
heavy metal?
She screams. Like
okay.
It literally sounds like a witch is screaming over the vocals.
Screamo, progressive metal, math rock core. I don't know.
Yeah,
one of those things.
Yeah, look them up online, because it's like there's so many variations of the heavy stuff.
Oh yeah.
I just listen to it. Like I don't know it all, but I know there's like a math aspect to it, but I can't remember all. But I mean, they've done some crazy stuff too. And I mean, especially for the genre, it's like, I mean, they've done stuff genre-wise and like played at Numos out in Seattle, which is crazy because I think I was in Seattle recording music with my homie Progeny, and we went. I think there was a Thursday night we went to Numos, and it's like I think they're one of those venues that has like a building that has 2 venues, like one in the basement, one upstairs, and I think the one upstairs is like 800 cap, so it was like a decent sized show, and like we see this band called Windhand. And then, like, the openers were, like, this band called who I saw there, and they were, like, the local opener for this, like, you know, nationally touring band. And then, like, the band ends up playing Rock Island, like, 6 months later and, like, in front of, like, 30 people. So I'm like, oh, wow, like, I saw you guys on this huge stage. And, like, Closet Witch had played in that same venue, and I'm like, you guys got to do something, you know, epic. But they played there's a festival in Des Moines called 8035. And I think I can't remember what the headliners were the year before, but I think it was like Kesha and like the Decemberists and like Talib Kweli. Like I might be mixing
awesome
a few
bands,
years.
awesome
yeah,
artists.
like just crazy bands, and they were like on one of the side stages and just did their thing. And I'm just like, I know for a fact 3/4 of that audience wasn't there to see them, but like they did their thing, and like, you know, people were there, but I'm just like, but they loved my music. I'm sitting there doing soul, R&B, hip hop, and I'm just like, even though I knew, because I mean, I grew, like my friends showed me metal and hardcore and punk music, you know, after high school, but it's just like even that Windhand show when I was out in Seattle at that venue they played at, I remember there was like a second level where you could just like stand, you weren't in the crowd and stuff, and it was like they had little TVs to see the stage better, and then like there's like a couple bars up there too, and like I'm walking around and I'm like, you know, it's a heavy, like I think it's like a doom bands. I think that's what like 2 of the bands were, and then one was like they almost seemed like they were like mainstream rock to an extent, like they were like psychedelic with like some heavy to them, and like just there was a lot of melodicness going on. But anyway, like I see people in suits walking, or like literally just posted up watching, and I'm just like, and I mean, they didn't have like, I don't think they had tattoos. Like they didn't look, I mean, they just might have had them covered because they're wearing suits. but like they didn't even look like the type of person that would have a tattoo, and they're at this doom show. Like, and I'm just like, I mean, the band like it sounds like the guy sounds like a bear screaming over just some dragging, just doom. And like at some point, like my brain, because I mean, like
when I hear called Doom.
No, they're called It's like UN, but I think that's how you pronounce it. But they're awesome. And I mean, it was just that's what it sounds like to me. But it was like I'd been drinking a little bit. I might have smoked or whatever at that time. But it was just like, and like music, like when it hits me, like it just like it'll. Like, I've been in venues in Iowa City and seen, like, Yellow Wolf, and, like, he had this guy, is it Bones Owens, I think it is, his guitarist, and the dude played with, like, Mikey Echo and I think a few other bigger artists. He's, like, getting up there now. Like, he's had songs playing on, like, ESPN and stuff. But, like, there was a portion of the set where, and I think he's one of those guys, multi-instrumentalist, and I think mainly guitar, but, like, he had a piano that they rolled out, and, like, one of those stand-up ones where it, like, stands up against the wall. And he had one of those off to the side, and then like at some point they lit some candles, put them on the top of the piano, and then like the lights change. And I mean, this is like it's Blue Moose. I don't know what it was, maybe like 500, it could be plus. I'm not sure. So I mean, it's just packed balls, just everywhere. It's filled, and they change it like probably change it like a purple and stuff. And like I know Yellow is from Alabama. I'm not sure where Bones is from, but like. Whatever song they played, I thought I was in Yellow's hometown. I'm in Iowa, and I'm like in Iowa City, and Iowa City is a college town. So like, think of a college town. It's not all it's not farms. Like Iowa, mostly farms. But anyway, I'm there, and I'm like, I remember that like it was yesterday. I can feel it right now. Like I'm like, and I felt like I was in the deep. Like I think he's from Gadsden, which I've never been, but like just watching some of Yellow Wolf's like videos, and like I'm assuming grew up in the woods or something to an extent, like, or maybe like one of his dad, I think. But like it just, the imagery from some of his music videos were popping in my head, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, like we're in like the deep South in some like just wooded, like some stuff's going down, like type stuff. But that's what happened with that. And I mean, it's just. So seeing people in suits at this like doom show, I'm just like, what are you doing? But yeah, watching that feeling, like I was scared because it sounds like a bear singing over this heavy, just like it's almost evil, but it's beautiful. And then like the guitars are doing this harmonic, just this beautiful harmony, and you're just like, oh my gosh, I get it, And it's like. Because I listen to every genre, so it's like, but when you see a band live, and I mean they're hitting their set, like like this is a local opener, but I mean you can tell they're a good band, and like they know their music, and they've been performing a long time, and they're on this probably one of the loudest sound systems, and the mix and everything is just on point, like it just takes you like you're in a venue full of 800 plus people, and you're not there.
Yeah.
You just close your eyes and you're just like, I don't even listen to this genre religiously, but it just took me to a place that I may have been in a similar realm of.
Isn't that amazing when that happens?
Yeah, and it's kind of creepy.
This was like a metal rock to you? Like it's kind of just like a new genre to you, a new style?
I've heard stuff similar, and it's like it's usually not my cup of tea just because it's like it's slow. Like I'm used to more headbanging stuff like ish. But I mean that it definitely helped my perspective on that subgenre of metal.
Yeah, I've been having those experiences a lot lately with like hip hop, R&B.
Yeah,
been exposed to a lot more over COVID, and recently the artist MF Doom.
Yeah.
And I never heard of him before.
Oh, man.
And I really like it. I started with his first record, but I really like it was 2004 Mad Villain. Yeah, Mad Villain. I forgot. It's not, I don't even know if it's a real word.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Because I know what you're talking about, and I know some of his music, but I don't know his projects enough. But
it's cool.
Yeah.
It's different sampling and different pacing and different rhyme schemes I'd never heard before.
Yeah, and that's what's crazy because it's like, I think people talked about that because he had his own like style to a lot of his music, and I was just like, yeah, I mean, I've never, and it's like that's what usually happens. Like is like people get into them after they pass? Because I'm assuming that's when you got into them.
I didn't even know who he was. Someone recently just told me about them.
Oh, really?
I didn't know anything about his history or his death, nothing like that. So normally you'd be right. Usually people get into stuff, when people pass away. But no, I was just randomly shown it. I was just like, man, I really like it. It's crazy. A lot of new music. That's been a beauty of Spotify too.
Yeah, for sure.
As daunting as it is, it's really great. If you have like friends that are really big into music buffs, and you're just constantly trading and sharing, check out this. Create a community Spotify playlist everyone could add to, ones you make and you share with friends. It's really, really cool. I'm a big fan of records.
Yeah.
Like I want to put on an album and just listen to it straight through. But a great thing to get to that is just discovering new artists. You find one song, then you can go do your own research, go down their discography, and just same thing with films. I like movies, and I find one I like. I want to see that director, and I just start watching all the movies they ever directed. And
go down almost a rabbit hole. And you're like, oh man, how did I get here?
Yeah, it's really cool, and it's a beautiful thing. That's the only real true thing of the streaming services, video and audio. The problem is because they're so saturated with stuff. You got to be patient and willing to do your due diligence and your homework to go through it, find what you like, try to figure out how to block some of the noise and the nonsensical stuff, and then really go for the true art. And it just takes time and effort, and I know a lot of people don't have that. They're busy with work and lives and kids, and they just can't sit around for hours trying to figure out what's the best new band, how do I know who's this, and that. The criteria of what makes like an amazing band has now like diminished. It used to be like, oh, how many sales do you have? Like how many records, how many concerts you're playing? But now that everyone can just sell stuff on Bandcamp or on Instagram, on Facebook, people like you, people like me.
Yeah.
Now that we can communicate with people from around the world just through email or through posting or sharing their stuff, the game's changed. Now the criteria of what makes someone good, bad, or whatever is different. It's not the same thing. And you start to realize, go use the restroom. Yeah, for sure. He's going to go use the restroom. I'm going to keep talking about criterias for bands. It's been interesting to see it change. Again, it used to be, how many followers do you have? How many shows are you guys playing? Are they ever sold out? I mean, those things still really matter, to be honest, especially if you want to financially get by in the music world in any way. But as far as what makes you like legitimate or a decent band, it's kind of, I don't know, it's kind of arbitrary, and you realize like as long as you can get on these platforms, it's not that hard to just make a record, upload it to Bandcamp, put it on CD Baby, and have it go to Pandora, iTunes, Apple Music, Spotify, and then just have like a social media and start sharing it and promoting it. And if you put in the effort and start playing shows pre-COVID, then before you know it, you can just be in places you never would expect. Someone could be listening to you in Taiwan, in Italy, in England, in Canada, down the street from you, your roommate in the same house, and then someone else in Chile. It's pretty amazing. And you realize like now the barometer of what is popular is just so different now, because these Spotify, big playlists, the ones that people get put on, you might be like an all new indie music or all new hip hop or all new world music. Those things are great, and it's a great way to learn new music, but there's so many like subcategories of just finding it. And I think the way they've, I don't agree with how much they pay their artists, Spotify and Apple and everything in between. They definitely are gypping you as they normally would. Actually, I don't even think that's the right word to use anymore. I think you're not supposed to say gyp. Anyway, they're definitely taking advantage of you in some way, shape, or form, as most larger companies tend to do. But man, the way they are able to spread music and the way you're able to learn about new music and genres, it's just so cool. It's groundbreaking. I've never learned about so much music in the last year or two than I have. It took my whole life to get to this, and I'm just really impressed with it. But I hope they can find better ways to pay the artists, because it's just kind of, I don't know, it's messed up. I know a handful of artists that have a lot of plays, millions, and they're not paid very well. Not paid very well at all. Sales have changed. CDs are completely on the outs. It's very rare someone puts out a CD. Cars don't play them. Laptops don't have CD ports. No one has their old CD players anymore. They probably stopped working. It's a finicky medium. Vinyl's definitely a great medium for it, but you got to be willing to buy the turntable, to buy the receiver, to buy the speakers, to have that gear, to know how to hook it up, to buy the physical vinyls. But I think it's great for bringing that love of music back, to have to sit there and put the vinyl on, not for quality or anything other than that nostalgic falling back in love with music or being in love with music, putting something on, having to sit around and listen to it, go back to it when it's done, flip it, slide it back into its sleeve, and, pick the next record. And it's great because that's such a fun way to listen to music. And then there's also like the Spotify and iTunes. And then you realize it's kind of just the context of the situation. Are you trying to just hang out with your friends and have a good time? You put on Spotify and just let people add to the queue. Or you want to sit down, smoke a joint, and just relax with a couple friends. You put on that vinyl and you sit there and you have intention behind your listening purposes. Do you have any vinyl of your own music?
Not yet, but we're trying to put out a project probably in the fall. And I definitely want to try and do vinyl for it.
Yeah,
it'll be closer to a full length. So
I'd buy it. I'm a big fan of vinyl. Big fan of supporting like local musicians who have vinyl. I don't have like the biggest collection, maybe like 150 vinyls.
That's solid though. Solid.
I want way more, but it's like microphones and cameras and lights or vinyl, and I have to like pick and choose stickers and pins or vinyl.
Right.
I don't have enough money to like do it all, so I'm just kind of like, man. But I was telling a friend yesterday, I was like, in 2 more years when I turn 33, I'm buying 3 vinyls a week for the rest of my life.
That's dope.
I think I'll financially be in a place where I could do that. And I want to buy a vintage one, a local band, someone like you, like that, and then like a more popular band that I like, and just try to buy 3 a week. I don't care how much it costs. Like, I want to invest in music. I love sitting around and listening to it. And I was saying before you came back in, like I've recently fallen back in love with music in a way that it's bringing me back like 10, 15 years to where I find myself listening every night, discovering new musicians, new ways of listening to it, new genres. A lot of people in my life now have been exposing me to new things. It's been great. I don't know, it's just been fun. And I've kind of like, COVID did that because I took myself away from the streaming services of video. So like I had Amazon, Netflix, Hulu, Disney Plus, ESPN, HBO, like everything.
Yeah.
And I just completely canceled all the services. Saved me some money a month.
No, yeah, easily.
I freed up so much time.
Right.
I didn't go, I'm bored, I'm going to go sit and see what I could find on 10 services and scroll through all of them and see what I want to see. Got rid of all of them. And instead of going to the television, I go to a vinyl or my laptop, put on Spotify, and I just like listen to music, read a book, have a conversation with friends, cook some food, play some card games, go outside, have a bonfire, and do the same thing.
Yeah.
And kind of just enjoy the moment more with people, more camaraderie, more conversationalists, talk about dumb stuff, talk about meaningful stuff. Don't talk about anything. Sit in silence, just listen to music.
Yeah.
And then have more purpose behind watching a movie. Now, if I want to watch a movie, if I watch one, every week or so, instead of paying $80 a month for streaming everything, I'd rather just pay the $3 to rent it if I'm going to watch it once in a while. On the same service, but go in and just pay to rent it. It's saving you money versus streaming all this stuff.
Right.
And at the end of the day,
you don't have enough time to watch all of it at once.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with it. I love movies. I'm a big movie head, and I love it, but the time it takes to sit there and watch a TV show and a TV show.
Yeah.
Again, nothing wrong with it, but I want to have purpose behind it. And that same purpose, that same drive and mentality, I've attributed it to listening to music. That's why I'm saying, like, put on a vinyl, sit there, read the lyrics, read the production, who made it, where they record it, who think about the engineers and the style.
Yeah.
Oh, the artists produced it too. Oh, they wrote and produced and engineered.
Yeah.
Wow, like, what does that mean? It's kind of like when you meet that, you watch a movie and you realize that the director wrote it, produced it, and directed it. It kind of reminds you of when someone like produces their record, records it, does all the arrangement, and sings on it. It's like you realize when someone does that, whether it's film or cooking or music or architecture, when they have way more, cards in it, it becomes way more of them and it has a feel of them, and it becomes that Kanye West record. Because Kanye West has so much more involved in his records than just like singing on them. He does a bunch of stuff. There's people like that. who are heavily involved in what the whole process is. And there's people who are not. They just come in, hired gun, they just sing and they get out. And both are important, but when someone is like heavily involved in it, it takes on the shape of like their persona, like their mentality, who they are.
Yeah, because there's a pocket of them, and it's like when you get the other minds, it's like, some teams work perfect, but then other people will make a masterpiece all by themselves, and you're just like, what?
Or closest to them by themselves as possible.
Yeah, exactly. And then it's like, if you took, like, say Kanye, like you were saying, if you take one aspect of him, like you take his beats out of it and put someone else's beat in there, it might not be as good of a song. Like they could have created the same exact beat, but they put their style into it, whereas Kanye put his style into it. And if you flip that out, it's not going to be the same song.
Yeah, there's a lot of directors like that. Yeah. Like some of my favorite directors, I consider them, this is my own, coined term, like artist and directors. Like they do everything. Like Wes Anderson, Paul Thomas Anderson. Who's another good example of one? What's his name? Darren Aronofsky? Is that how you say his name? He did like Black Swan and Mothers and Requiem for a Dream, where they kind of direct, write, and produce. Like their name is on everything. Quentin Tarantino.
Yeah. Okay.
When you watch their movie, like that's a Quentin Tarantino film. He's doing everything. He wrote the story. He's part of the whole production. That what goes, what doesn't go, and he's directing it all. Like it's going to have their flair, their taste on it. And you'll get that a lot with certain people. That's why certain artists want to work with certain engineers, producers. Like, I like the way they do everything. Right. How they're going to take what I do and make it what they do. Bridge that gap. Yeah,
because for me, when I record, like, I mean, I've recorded with so many different people, like, not a ton, but I'd say, like, over the time period of me starting my recording, like, probably, I think I started that, like, probably early high school. But, I mean, just all the different either engineers or whoever, however that breaks down, how comfortable you are with some people, or how that process, like, does it flow naturally, or are you paying for a session and like you're paying $50 an hour or more or whatever, and like, do you feel like it's being rushed because you're paying the $50, or like, is it flowing freely, and like, are you actually getting into your music instead of just like actually just doing it as quick as you can in the time frame or something? Like at the end of the day, a lot of that, like, at times really matters too. Like it's so crazy too how drastic it can be.
Yeah, that's a tricky thing. Like I've worked with a lot of people who we meshed really well and it worked great, and then sometimes it clashes and it's just like not work. I mean, it happens though. Like it's a creative outlet. Like it's the most emotional connection you're ever going to have. You're taking something you might have spent days, weeks, months, years in your head, writing it out, typing it out, getting those feelings out. Maybe you are very antisocial and it took you so long to finally be able to sing in front of people. And now you're very, in this very vulnerable state with an engineer, and it might not just lock well. What you thought you were going to do might not work with them. It happens. I try to make it to where that's a small percentage of the time. There's only so much you can do before it's out of your control. And it's just the chemistry of like the musician and the engineer just not clicking. But most of the time that's not really a problem. I try to set it up to where I'm just like a vessel. I try to be transparent with what they do. I want to take that information, just put it out of speakers properly, whatever that takes. But it depends on the project. Some projects I feel like I need to take on a more producer role. Maybe they come in with that open-ended, like, hey, we like the way you do this, so like whatever you think, like give us your 2 cents. And then some people come in like, I know exactly what I'm doing, I know exactly what I want, and I'm just a translator. Like I'm not doing anything. I'm like, again, put a microphone, make it as clear as possible to coming out. Like that's it.
And
that's
then
all my job is.
Give me notes when you need something changed.
Give me notes, I'll give you notes. So, usually I'm an emotional support dog for most people. I've learned the psychology of a musician. Being a musician myself, I've learned a lot about how to like talk them off the edge. Like, it's okay. Let's just do it again. Okay, let's not do it again. 8 takes is enough. It's clearly not going to get better. Maybe let's come back to it. Practice it more at home. Next time you come in, you'll probably be fine with it. You're overthinking it. It's okay. Like, man, you got to walk a lot of people. That take was great. The take was great. You're in your head about it. There's some nuance to it, but you're the only one who's going to know.
Yeah, exactly. And when you're in your head, you don't think about that.
Yeah, nobody on YouTube's gonna know. Nobody on Spotify is gonna know that you hit an inverted chord. It's still, you hit the fifth instead of fourth. It's still in key. It's still great. It just might not be what you wanted.
Right.
But it's not wrong. Yeah, it's not out of time. When there's an actual quantitative wrong thing, like it's out of time, it's not in tune, or it's just kind of like a botched note or something, I'll be like, that one note there, we could try to fix it, but that's the only thing. Well, other than that, flawless, delivery, anything that's wrong, that's on you. Like, that's in your head.
Right.
So it could be very minute, nuance related things that's just like, when I was singing, I wish I went up to that note.
Yeah, the inner perfectionist is like...
but I went to this note. It's not a wrong note.
Yeah.
It's just not where I wanted to go.
Exactly.
And I'm like, no, whatever you do, this is kind of true for everything in life. Whatever you do, if you do it with confidence and you're genuine, everyone thinks that's what was meant to be. They think that was deliberate. When a band does something live, most listeners, they're just people who got off work, they want to go to the club or the bar or the pub, get a beer, get a burger, and just be entertained and have fun. Hang out with their friends and talk and just listen to music, and if they're music nuts, then vibe out and just rock out, and they want to have fun. They don't care or know what the heck you're talking about. Like, I've done a lot of guitar work in my life, and I've had a lot of sloppy riffs and solos, and every time we're done playing a show, people are like, oh, it was great, you're so good, I never knew you could play that way. I'm just like, dude, it was...
Yeah, you're like,
But I know that,
Yeah.
So being self-aware, I'm like, thank you. Like,
Yeah.
I know where I messed up, but to them, it was great, and that's... You could argue that it's all that matters. I don't know, are you doing this for yourself, or are you doing it for them? If I had fun doing it for myself, and the people around me had a good time, then it's a win. Like, I'm okay with it,
Exactly.
You get better for the next one. I'm not going to try that again.
Yeah.
When you're playing live, you're like, you yourself get tired of how you've been playing for so long. You're like, I gotta try something new. I'm sick and tired of playing it like this. So you throw in this curveball, and you're like, oh no. I never practiced that.
Yeah.
I should not have thrown in a curveball in front of 150 people.
Right.
I should just keep that for when I'm at home, hone in, and then do it again. But like that exciting improv thing kicks in your brain. You're like, I want to try something.
Yeah.
You probably do it all the time with singing, where you're like, let's see if I can go to this note.
And that's the good thing about being able, like, especially if, like, I try not to use my laptop unless it's like a hip hop like set where they're like, hey, do that. Like, most of the time I have the freedom to be able to play my acoustic stuff if I want to. But I mean, unless it's like a set where it's like everyone else is using a laptop with backing beats, it's like I don't like doing it anymore, because if I can play my acoustic guitar, or if Cadence can be there and play her piano, I mean, it's way less effort for me to sing over her playing piano or the guitar, but we can move just like it might be similar to a pocket that we've gotten into, but it's never the exact same. And with a backing track, I can only do so much difference, because if I have the hook come in, which I don't anymore, because I'm just like, if I take that hook out, I know where the chorus is going to come in. So if I want to switch it up and like I can't really change tempos and stuff, but the melodicness or whatever level of things that I want to switch up, I can. But in that backing track, I can only move so much, especially when there's a melody back there. I can't do certain notes in that song because it won't fit. But with the acoustic guitar and just my vocals, I can go a lot of different places, or I could slow it down, or I could pause, or do certain accents. And I'm just like, it's so crazy in the variation, but I'm just like, oh my gosh.
Do you do a lot of rap?
Not really. I mean, it's like when I started writing music, I started doing poetry, and then one day I'm like, oh, because I was literally, when you referenced records and reading the lyrics, I did that. Like, I would put on CD, because we didn't have vinyl at all. And I mean, this is like probably the 90s. Well, no, like late 90s into the 2000s probably. And like, I'm like Brian McKnight, Best Of album or whatever. I'm reading the lyrics, and I'm just like, I'm listening to him sing. I'm reading the lyrics, and I'm like, oh my gosh, poetry. Like, songs are poetry.
Yeah.
It's just they sing these words instead of speaking them. And then my brain clicked, and I'm like, and I was writing poetry. So I'm like, one day I'm like, let me try singing this. Like, what would, like, if this emotion that I put into these words, how would they feel with melody and notes behind them, you know. And then that's when I started writing songs. And I mean, I honestly, the first song I played today, that was probably the first song I ever wrote.
Really?
Yeah. And I mean,
when was that?
Oh man, like maybe 8th grade, roughly around then.
17
maybe
years ago, 20 years ago.
Yeah. And it's
so why'd you sit on it for so long?
Well, I don't know. One was like I would pick up a guitar and stuff, but I mean, I already had it written, and I mean, it's only 2 chords, so it was like, I think that's what it was, and it was like I said, we were poor, so it was like we couldn't just go out and buy a guitar, so I was working at the library in high school, and so I would like lease a guitar and stuff, and it was like, like some of my relatives, like they would be like, "Hey, what do you want for Christmas?" My brain never dawns on me to be like, can you buy me a guitar? They would have bought me a guitar, but I just never, like, it never clicked because I'm like, I don't know, like you would say clothes or like a video game or something because it's just naturally. And I'm like, when I still to this day look back and I'm like, they would have bought me and they would have bought me a good guitar. Like they wouldn't just bought me some like basic, and I'm not hating on like Kmart or, you know, the novelty guitars and stuff. But it's like if a person, you know, they were willing. I mean, they bought us the brand new video game system every time like a new one came out.
Yeah,
just to, you know, make sure we had some sort of normalcy in our lives, you know. And I'm like, damn, why the hell did I never?
You should have asked for. You could get it. My first guitar was $60 in my garage. So.
Yeah, and but that's what I'm saying.
You know, like, and it was fine. I still have it. It's a Washburn. It's Washburn. It's fine.
And that's a quality guitar.
Yeah, I mean, it's been through hell, but it's fine, and they're not that expensive to get someone started. But
exactly, and that's all I needed.
Yeah,
and that was.
So when did you get your first guitar?
Oh man, like probably the first one I probably bought was probably, man. Honestly, I couldn't even tell you. Like, it might have been less than 10 years ago, honestly.
Oh, wow.
Because I just kept doing that. And then there was like, after high school, like, that's when I started recording. I didn't need a guitar. Like, even though I was like, I loved music overall, like, I was starting to get into hip hop and then like, and instrumentals and stuff. So it was like, I'd met friends that made beats and stuff. So that just kind of took over my main focus. And then I would get more into hip hop and like R&B and like certain aspects. So I would get more into the melodies of the backing tracks and like lyricism or whatnot. So I wasn't really worried about the instruments because since I know this person has this computer program that they can, or whatever, they can just play, or they have like this synthesizer or something that they can imitate an instrument. I wasn't thinking about like the actual, a real instrument, an acoustic guitar, you know, electric bass or whatever. So I think that's why so much time passed. And I mean, I would go in and out of being or having one, but then like either I'd break it. Cause I mean, there were a few times like, 'cause I had a pill addiction for like, from like 21 to like, let's see, me and my lady been together, I think 7 years. So let's see, probably till about 24, 25, I had a pill addiction.
4 years?
Yeah.
What pills?
Any.
Oh, really?
If I could get messed up, I would. Like, I mean, I knew I had a problem. Like, what was it? We went and saw the second time I saw Yellow Wolf was in Des Moines at, I think this place called like People's Court, I think it was, or something like that. And we were at the hotel that we got to stay the day before. And like my buddy just like he's just one of those people, like he never sold drugs or anything. People would just always give him pills. Like, I don't know why. Like, it was just one of those things. So he had Valium, Percocet, like 3 or 4 different pills. And I knew each one of them. And I've never been prescribed a single one of them. And I mean, it was just one of those things, like pills, like some people, I ain't gonna say everybody, but I'd say, you know, a ton of people grew up, you know, taking, hey, I have an headache, so aspirin. Well, I never, like, there was a conscious decision when I was a kid that I was like, okay, I'll probably smoke pot. I'm gonna drink alcohol. Like, I mean, I'll probably at least try it, you know. I was like, I'll probably try coke. And I'm like, psychedelics, maybe mushrooms. because I'm like, I don't want acid to be in my body. Like I was like, because that's the stories. I don't even know.
It's so funny. I'll do coke, but not acid.
Yeah,
That's funny.
Yeah, when it was like my brain, I think it was just because of the aspect of what musicians may or may not do. I think it was just that they may like not all musicians party, but
have you tried all those drugs that you're saying?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I tried all of them. Yeah,
acid too.
No. Well, I haven't. I've had the opportunity to try shrooms, but I've never like. It's one of those things because like I have anxiety and stuff too, and like and it's so messed up because my friends are like, all right, because you're in conversation and like you might be smoking or popping pills or whatever, and like it just comes up like you're talking about shrooms and like a friend's like, oh yeah, well like when you do them, like make sure you do this and this, like certain things that. Everyone that I've ever talked to about shrooms that have done them, they're like, yeah, they all say it. So I'm
setting.
Yeah, exactly. Well, one of them, he's like, yeah, I was throwing this party, I was throwing this kegger, and he was on shrooms. Well, then like he's like, it was the worst mistake of my life.
No parties and shrooms.
Yeah.
No, they do not go well. Even if you're experienced, I don't recommend that. It's if you're not experienced, I'd recommend just like you and like a friend or two, just chill. Super relaxed, something that's not going to be disruptive to your state of mind.
Yeah,
something you don't have to worry about. You don't want any stressors or anxieties.
Yeah,
around
and
you.
me, I'm easy. Like I mean, nowadays I can pull myself out of certain situations of my anxiety, but then sometimes I don't have it at all, and I'm just like, I gotta. What am I gonna do to distract my mind? Because that
could help with your anxiety.
Yeah,
take a small amount.
Well, that's what they've said, and it's like usually like. I've probably been able to about 5 times in my life, but literally every time I was either broke. I think that's what it usually was. I was broke or just didn't have cash on me, and like someone just had some, and they're like, "Yeah, oh yeah, I got." Everyone had money. I was the one that didn't have money. Well, everyone else got it first, and like even my buddy, he was like, "Oh yeah, I'll just cover you." Couple times, and literally they just ran out of shrooms. Like they were like, "You're not even gonna get a buzz or anything off of this." Like it was like literally, it was like a crumb or something type thing. And I mean, like, probably I think every time I've just been in a room full of people tripping. And I'm sitting there playing, like, the first time I think we're sitting there playing, like, Call of Duty, the zombies or whatever. And, like, I don't play Call of Duty. I suck at it. Like, I'm a sports guy. And I mean, even then, like, if there's a person that is exceptional or even decent at Madden, I'm going to get my butt kicked. Like, so I'm like... But anyway, we're sitting there. So, like, the sticks finally get to me, and I'm like, y'all know I suck at this. Don't, because people start dropping off like flies because the shrooms are kicking in. And like, oh, my gosh, man. I'm like, dude, describe it to me. I can't even do it.
You can't. There's no describing it. It's an experience.
Yeah, and that's why I'm like, so it's like, and it's like every time that I've had the opportunity, it's with people I'm comfortable with. It's in a setting that I'm like, I'm kosher with because I'm like, there's been some where like I knew I had it available to me, but I'm like, nah. Like I know like if I was in this situation right now and I took shrooms, I know for a fact I would have,
I'd recommend your first time, like do it at home. You don't want to be driving or leaving anywhere. Do it maybe 1 or 2 people you're very close with and have
ones that you trust because otherwise
one
you're
you
like,
trust and one that is not doing anything completely sober. Just in case you need to be like brought back down to earth. In case you get a little in your head, just have someone there to just like they are clear headed. Like, and it sounds intense, but it's not. It's just to like make sure everything's cool. Like that's important for that whole experience. And after you do it a couple times, you'll become more aware of it. Right. And then you can start doing it like, I'll go somewhere and do it. You can be more
like
confident.
Go for a walk or something.
Go for a walk. It took a couple times before I like went on a hike. And that's fun. Yeah. Going on a hike on mushrooms is great. It's hilarious. I don't know. You pass up somebody and you're just laughing. Yeah. You're just having a good time.
Well, yeah, because I think that's what they started doing. They just started dropping off playing the video game and like they're just all giggling. I'm like, man, this is some bull crap.
The giggles are for real. Like think about the most giggly you've ever been. It's like
those late night giggles when you're like tired and like you can't. Everything's funny no matter what you do. Like it's just stupid, but you're just like, this ain't even funny. Why am I laughing?
The way your eyebrow looks, you're just laughing at it. The way something on the wall is just slightly tilted, you just like the weirdest things you laugh at. But it's great. I don't know. You find simplicity and humor in the finer things in life, and also the not so finer things in life. It's kind of cool. I don't know. Yeah, I've never done coke or pills, like no pills at all.
Yeah, I didn't. I definitely like.
Why any pill? Why did you get to that place in your mind where you just would have wanted to take any pill?
Well, I think like I was saying before, I think just naturally being able to just pop a pill it was the easiest thing to do for me. Like, I mean, it was like, because not that I was like, I don't know, I was just so used to, if I had a headache, take something for it and it's gone. So it was like, I think, and then I guess like, because my mom, she was schizophrenic and bipolar, and I know I never touched any of the other ones. I just knew like whatever her Xanax or whatever that anti-anxiety pill that she had, I can't remember that, but I know it was similar to Xanax because I like Googled it at the library when like we didn't have a computer at home, so I didn't even know. I didn't know what some of them.
Lexapro?
Something
like that.
Yeah, something like that. Because she had like 3 or 4 prescriptions. Like, because like my mom, like she hallucinated. Like,
was she like that when you were a kid?
Not well. That's the thing. It's like I don't like now and like probably I'd say 8th grade on. That's when like it was like crazy. But then it's like, so when I was saying how she, as religious as she was, she would fast, not take her medication, and mind you, she all like her schizophrenia and bipolar disorder, which it's schizoaffective. Schizoaffective disorder. Like she would hallucinate and like get super depressed and like shut down. And it was like, but she would like still, part of her brain like would literally just, it was like her brain would latch onto religion twice as hard. And there were times like...
Was that like her maybe rationale or reasoning behind her thoughts? Like
maybe
go to religion to try to give reasoning behind this madness, which is that experience she was going through?
Yeah, maybe. I don't... Because like we never, like even till now, even now, like... Because it's like, I think her, with her fasting and her not taking her medication for so long, that it kind of just put her, like her brain is like you can have a conversation with her, but like, I mean, she could be sitting there and she, like, unless we asked her a question, she wouldn't say anything.
Right.
And I mean, and it's like, it bothers me sometimes, but it's like, it's one of those things where I have to tell myself, like, even when it makes me feel bad, like, I'm better off, like, I still have my mom. And, like, she's still here, and I can have a conversation with her, but I can't have this conversation. Like, I can't, like, and I mean, that was the thing that sucked, too. It was, like, because she was a functioning, like, I mean, she functions, but, like, she's not the everyday person that we see, you know, going in and out of a grocery store or certain everyday aspects of life. Like, I mean, I can talk to my lady's mom and dad and us sit there and talk for 3 hours. Me and my mom, it's like, I don't have that. And it's like, sometimes it hurts because it's just, I mean, it's just one of those things because you want, if everyone's doing that, but then your mom's over there doing that and you're just like, you see it, but you know, because you know her situation and where she's at mentally, there's nothing you can do. And it's like, you just feel stuck and helpless. And it's just like even yesterday, like me and my lady got engaged yesterday.
Whoa.
And yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yesterday? All right.
Yeah.
Cool.
And like we were doing our Easter setup this week, yesterday, and like her grandparents came over and like they just got recently vaccinated and everything. So like, and like because they live out in Viola, Illinois, well, outside of Viola, Illinois, and which is like I think 30 minutes outside the Quad Cities, and like they get like it's pretty much farmland. They don't own a farm, but they've got like a really big pond. Like it looks like a lake, but it's just a pond. And like, so like we would go out, like we went out there during the pandemic like 3 or 4 times and just like sat like, you know, at least 6 feet away. And because like they have health issues and stuff because they're older and everything. But like hadn't physically touched them since like pre-pandemic. And I mean, you know, they're 2 elderly people. And like even during the winter last year, they were stuck in their home for 2 weeks. They couldn't get out. But I mean, at the same time, they hadn't literally felt anyone. And like, you know, there's people that literally lost relatives and never got to touch them again because of the pandemic. It's just like, so it's like, you know, they're at home watching the news and seeing all the negativity. And then it's like, you can't even, you know, comfort yourself by feeling the people that you love. And I'm just like, wow. Like, and like her grandpa, like he hugged Jessica yesterday and he cried. shed a tear. And I mean, this is a dude that like in his heyday went hunting like, probably more often than anyone ever would.
Tough guy.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, he's a big dude. Like he's probably like, I'd say like 6'1", 6'2", like really like 300 pound. Like he's a big dude. Like, but
it just goes to show how important that human connection and touch is.
Yeah.
Touching people.
Yeah.
Like, man, it was robbed from people for a long time, and this year has really put into perspective mental health, physical health. I know a lot of people I tried my best to do the opposite, and a lot of people got really out of shape because of it, and put inside, can't go to gyms, kind of, emotional eating because you're just stressed out, lonely.
And then winter comes around for the people that have a winter.
Yeah, winter was fine for me personally, but I try my best to make that a habit of like having people around, and I'm fortunate enough to have roommates.
Right.
Which normally a lot of people resent having roommates, and this year was probably the best year of anybody's life to have, roommates. Yeah. Be around people. We're going through it together. Positive reinforcement. Like all my roommates, we've all gotten a lot healthier, and like one person sees one person working out, and now everyone wants to do it. It's good. It's cool.
Chain reaction.
Yeah, and same thing with music too. We just all started playing a lot more music, just good stuff. But for a lot of people who lived alone or don't have that support system, this year in winter was terrible. Yeah. Terrible. I've never seen so many adults who were, air quotes, tough people just kind of submit their emotions and just be humble and just like, man, I need people. I miss it. And it's serious. I don't know. I think I see a good change. I mean, the news is, always going to be fear-mongering. But I see a good change coming. People going out more, people being vaccinated, people being more aware. I can
feel it. Like,
the weather's coming and breaking. And we need to be aware still of like our surroundings and knowing how safety protocols, like what we were talking about earlier. People are going to wear masks and social distance and sanitize a lot in stores and restaurants for a long time. But as far as going out in the sunlight, and just being around people out there, I think that's great. And it's healthy for the mind.
I agree.
What good are we if our minds and spirits are broken?
Yeah.
What good are... and that's not going to help. We know there's a lot of mental and emotional things going on with fighting physical things like disease and health. So if we're mentally and emotionally distraught, our immune system suffers. And you have no will to live. It's why a lot of older folks, they say, like, when you retire... don't. Like, keep moving. Put that energy somewhere else, otherwise you fall apart.
Yeah, because you're not doing anything.
You got to keep that brain and emotions moving. You got to be emotionally intelligent, and that's something I think gets overlooked a lot because we have mental health, right? We have these therapists, psychiatrists, shrinks, what have you, psychologists, and then you have your physical health. You have trainers, athletic trainers, physical trainers, doctors, go to the gym. But what about that gap in the middle, that emotional health, like venting, talking through things, listening to somebody else, trying to put yourself in their shoes and understanding where they came from. A lot of black men and black women and black people came up in such harsh conditions because just purely who you are, just your skin color. You didn't even do anything. Like, nothing happened. You just were born in that neighborhood in Davenport with the guy beating the dog next door. And sometimes it's just an income thing because you can hear that same story and it could be someone in the foothills of West Virginia and it's just a white guy and his neighbor is a poor guy beating a dog with you before. Like, you start to realize it has to do with income. And then there's that caveat of skin color. You put income and skin color and people just get weird. It's like everyone wants to be above the next person. So like as long as someone can be one notch below them, you feel better at night or something. I don't know. I can't get to that place in my head. But it's a thing. And it's really disturbing. And
because I've never been like, I think that's like, I don't even know where that comes because like like I was saying, a lot of me comes from other people, but then some of it doesn't. And it's like, it blows my mind when I've met people that, like even people in my neighborhood that just think completely different, and it's just like if we were like me and my brother, like even though we're brothers, and even the aspect of us having different dads, I know that's a factor, but even siblings that are completely different and they're total opposites, and like, hey, this person's a Democrat, this person's a Republican, and it's just like, what? You were raised the same way, and it's like, you're not gonna have the one, like there are plenty of households that I'm sure it's like that, but then like say if you have one that's a racist and the other one's not, and they weren't raised racist, or vice versa. Like, hey, they were raised racist, but this one's not one, and they've never been. And somehow their brain just, day one, that's wrong, that's wrong, that's wrong. Regardless of what you tell me, that's wrong. And the other one, this is right, regardless of what you say.
It's complicated. It's really nuanced. You realize it's genetics, it's environment, it's did your parent favor you over the next person? Did your sibling meet the wrong person at the wrong time at 6 years old?
Yeah.
And you didn't? Like, there's so many factors.
Well, and it's like great example of that. There's this bar, Creekside, that I used to do karaoke at all the time, and like back in that heyday when I had my pill addiction, I would go out and get hammered, and I would work there. And I like bar back all the time, and then just do karaoke all the time, and then like.
So you were mixing pills and alcohol?
Oh yeah, I was. It wasn't even a relationship, but it was like probably one of the strongest loves I've ever had in my life. And it was
pill and alcohol?
No, this chick.
I was like,
yeah,
what?
my bad. No, yeah. One is like at some point I'm sure that was a thing, but it was like with Xanax, like it was so bad because one, I didn't have a lot of money. Like I had a job, but I didn't make a lot of money. So it was like I'd take one and like it would intensify like I could have one beer and it would intensify it by like 3. Like I mean it was crazy.
Yeah.
So it was it was an easy way for me to get messed up, and 2, I was dealing with that heartbreak. And so it was, and I didn't learn how to, I like with my mom being the way she was a very strict parent. So, like, my aunts and uncles, they playfully but seriously, they're like, hey, how many girlfriends you got? Because I would have, like one of my cousins went to Iowa and played football there. And, like, most of my family were athletes. And they're social people. So, they do what most people have. They have girlfriends and boyfriends and whatever else. Well, we weren't allowed to, have, and I think, like, I mean, even growing up, my mom didn't have sex talk with us, or like, and I mean, I'm sure that's hard. And she's a single parent, so she's just doing what she thinks is right, But it was like, I mean, my aunt was like, "Hey, how many girlfriends do you have, or what's going on? Do you have a girlfriend?" And you better not have a girl. I mean, even in a high school, and I'm just like, in my head, I'm just like, what is like, And I think part of it was my uncle passing from AIDS, and then just like. Our dad's not sticking around, and just her experience in life, because I know other stuff happened to her, and I mean she wasn't like day one born and being schizophrenic. Like her schizophrenia was either obviously it was there, it just didn't show itself for whenever it started, like fully,
like in her 20s. Or
honestly that's what I'm saying, I don't even know, because I mean it's like I have friends that would self-medicate, like that friends told me, like they were like he's like, we knew he was schizophrenic, but like he wasn't taking medication, and you just get messed up all the time. And it's like me with my mom, like, I mean, I saw her drinking, but not like an alcoholic would drink. Like if there was a social gathering, it's like me. If I go somewhere and people are drinking, I'll have a few beers, or if I'm in the right environment or whatever to where I can get hammered, I'm going to get hammered. Like it wasn't anything like excessive or anything. So it was like, but I do know at some point, like I would say, I mean, she was 28, I think, when she had me. So probably for me, when I noticed her changing, I guess, maybe like late 30s.
Oh, okay.
So I mean, it could have been there. But me, from what it all depends, I guess, on the difference of it, because, like, I mean, she could have been medicated that whole time, like since birth. She could have been on that medication, but I don't know,
yeah,
type thing.
Yeah.
But, yeah, sorry, I got sidetracked in my brain.
You're talking about the love of your life.
Oh, yeah.
Pills, alcohol, bar backing.
Yeah, so without having, she never talked about it with love. So it was like, I didn't get to go through those experiences in like, say junior high or high school when people start dating, or, or like, I mean, I had crushes on girls, and like, even like mutual situations, but like I could date you right now. If I asked you out, I know we would date, because like it's just there. Like you like me, I do like you, but I can't put it into words, or I can't even just be like, hey, let's date. Like because I had the fear of my mom in the back of my head.
You, me, my friend, very similar upbringings. what you just said, I resonate with.
Yeah.
Same thing. Very challenging situation to be going through puberty, be a boy, be anybody.
Yeah.
And you're feeling all those things and genuine. You like someone, they like you. It's real. But you're not supposed to date. Can't date. You're too young.
Yeah.
Can't have sex. Premarital sex, can't do any of it. And then you're kind of just stuck. You don't know how to express that. So, I don't know. I acted out in a way of where I just went introverted. I just hid away because it's well, if I can't express it, I want to.
I internalize a lot.
Might as well write some poems about it and go hide away and write songs.
Exactly.
So I resonate with you, but keep going.
But yeah. So it was that was I think my senior year was the first time I had an actual girlfriend, and then we literally, I talked to her for 2 months before I got the nerve to ask her out. And then it was a weird situation because it was she broke up with her boyfriend to be with me. And I knew that, but it was one of those things I'd never asked a girl out. And she was a sophomore or something. So it was a weird, it wasn't weird, but it was weird. I think that played a part. But then it was just I was so scared. Asked her out. She dumped me the next day. And it was and it was cool. I was fine with it. But then, she kind of changed, and I think, she started dating some other dude after that, because I think I waited too long. And, she just emotionally, or the attachment of whatever we had going on, she kind of moved past it, because she's why hasn't he asked me out? I've literally told him I broke up. And I think that aspect kind of hampered me wanting to ask her out, because I'm it's kind of messed up. You can't just break up with a guy just because, you like me. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's either I don't know, you're not right or wrong in the situation, but it just felt wrong. I did something, and we didn't do anything. We hung out a couple times, and we knew we mutually liked each other, but it was we knew there was a boyfriend, and I was so I backed off as much as I could, but we were still friends, so it was kind of a weird position to be in. And I just thought it was wrong on her part, and then I didn't move in. Plus, I'm this is my first experience with I knew there were girls that liked me, but this is one where I'm more confident in okay, I'm starting to come out of my shell, so my confidence is a little bit closer to where I want it to be. Plus, I'm a senior in high school. I had backlashed and stuff a little bit, but I mean, I was still always, I would say, if my mom was the regular mom, I'd definitely be a mama's boy, hands down.
Oh, yeah.
Even if my dad would have been there, I would have been a mama's boy, hands down. And, but yeah, that situation happened. Then fast forward 3 or 4 years, and I mean there were working at Burger King, I had females that had crushes on me and stuff. But still, that my mom's just it was almost like my mom was looking over my shoulder all the time. I mean, there were times we were at this church in Rockford this one time, and I can't remember the church, but actually we were at a revival. And you know what those are by chance? Okay. All right.
Anything you say
else,
about Christianity in any way, shape, or form, I relate.
well, for anyone that doesn't, I should say, it's almost it's just a ton of music. I wish I knew the name of this church. I mean, this thing was huge, and we came from Davenport, went to Rockford because I think that was the parent church of I don't even know how it breaks down, but what was that church? Pentecostal maybe. Mm. And that one, it was this is the closest. I don't even know how it breaks down. Say you have a Catholic church, and then you have the priest, and if they, I don't know, if they go to Rome or whatnot to see the main house, there's tiers, I guess, to certain stuff, and this was the parent of this section. Well, we go there, and there's 3 or 4 different churches there, and each choir from that church gets up there and does their thing. And I think there's one preacher for the whole night, and it's I don't know, they might preach for a half hour or 45 minutes. I'm sure it was longer than that because most of the time we did not get out of church on time. But I mean, we didn't even get there till we probably pulled in 6 or 7, and then we get out of there at midnight because all the choirs did their thing, and it was crazy because this dude, he had to be 6'3", but I mean he might have been bigger than that. I just wasn't standing up next to him, and he's 300 pounds. He's wearing this pimped, literally if this dude wasn't a pastor and you saw him at a grocery store, you would think he was a pimp because I mean this suit was so slick, and I mean this dude just there was this like if anyone's ever been to a church, when a pastor has just that confidence and that swag that they're just, they just have it, like, and he gets up, starts singing this song, and then his niece joins him, which I think she went to the church. Well, it's not Kelly. There's Beyonce, Kelly Rowland, and then Michelle Williams. Michelle Williams went to that church, and I'm like, she looks familiar. And
Michelle
then
Williams, the actor?
From Destiny's Child.
Oh.
The long black hair.
Okay.
Yeah. So like she starts singing the song, and I'm like, and my mom had this CD, it had this flower on it, and it was one of those that didn't have the title of the actual artist or the CD. And I'm like, I know this song. I start singing with it, and I'm like looking at my cousin, I'm like, who is she? And she's like, you don't know who that is? I was like, no. She's like, that's Michelle Williams from Destiny's Child. And I'm just like, wait, what? I was like, yeah, she's like her, I think the pastor of that church was her uncle, or originally they're from that church, and then they've done their own things. So yeah, church gets over, and they usually fed us, because we just get back on the bus that we came in, one of the charter buses. We get some food in their like dining area, and then hop back on the bus after we're done eating. So we're in this like lobby area, and we're just hanging out, and I keep seeing like this girl. She's like, I thought she was looking past me, because I'm like, like this, and it's like church. So I'm like, it's just one of these things. I'm like, why does she keep looking down there? So she walks up at some point, and she's like, you're a very handsome young man. My mom's right behind me talking to my brother, and I'm like, and there's literally no one else within like 20, 30 feet on either side of us. And I'm like, and I mean, it was the most polite way of hitting on someone in a church.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, thank you. And I just power walked and went into the place to get food. And I'm just like.
So, wow, that must have been mind blowing.
It was, because it was like the first, like, I mean, that's happened other times too. But I mean, that was the first blatant. And I'm just like, and this is a chick that goes to some other church. I've never seen her in my life prior to this, and I've never seen her since. Mm-hmm. But it was just like it was the most awkward situation to be put in. And I'm just like,
yeah.
like if this was at school, maybe I probably would have had and if we were in school and my mom wasn't here, I'd probably be
the mom, the thumbprint of the mom. Yeah. Man, it's a very real thing.
It is. It seriously is. I mean, and it's so crazy, like, because that was probably like rough. That was junior high for sure. But it was like, even after all that, like probably sophomore, junior year, like when my mom's schizophrenia was like hitting crazy, and like she's like fasting and not taking her medication while fasting. So one, she's already draining herself of all these things that she needs in her body, for the religion. So she's only drinking water and eating bread, or I think some of that type of stuff. But then on top of that, she's not taking medication that keeps her brain, wherever it leaves her brain.
As balanced as possible.
Yeah, exactly. So then like she's not getting all this stuff. Well, then like I remember there were times like I had to call my grandma, and like luckily she only lives like maybe 10 minutes away from us, even though she lives in a different city. And like I'm like, hey grandma, mom will not let us leave the house. And I mean literally just like when you see an actor or actress like being in a different character, and you're just like, oh my God, this is the most believable thing I've ever seen in my life. Mm-hmm. Like she's like literally holding and I mean, like I said, my mom was in the National Guard for a long time still, but then also she's like mentally somewhere else. Like her reality isn't what we're looking at. And she's like, if you go out there, the devil's gonna get you. And I mean, just like, and like even our natural reaction to it was just like, mom, because we were so used to her being that way from time to time, that it was like we were laughing, and we're like, mom, like we're hysterically laughing because like, one, we don't know what else to do, and two, we're used to this. And I mean, honestly, for a long time, like I didn't think everyone was schizophrenic and stuff, but I also didn't know my mom was schizophrenic until like years later. Like, cause like without reading those pill bottles, I didn't even know she was schizophrenic. Mm-hmm. For me, I honestly chalked it up to, well, she's fasting, so like this could be just affecting her differently, mm-hmm. like, whatever. But yeah, like my grandma physically had to remove her from the door. And I mean, a lot of times we would get into situational stuff like argument, like, and I mean, and my, like, we sucked at communication as it was when she was, you know, balanced. And it was because that was just our form of communicating. Like, we never, and part of it was because she was schizophrenic and bipolar, because when she would be, you know, not taking her medication, but then she's not fasting, she's actually, you know, she's not balanced, but she's a little bit more level because she's eating, at least. Mm-hmm. So it's like her brain's doing what it naturally does, but like she just seems, I don't know, she seems agitated and frustrated more than anything, I guess, at times. And so like naturally, and then like, you know, she grew up in a time where it was cool to put your hands on a kid, or which I mean, don't get me wrong, like I don't condone being like, oh, I deserve to get beat or something, or hit with a belt or a fly swatter, which I'm like, whatever, that's how it was back then. But there were times where, I mean, naturally, if you get hit by a belt and hit with a belt, and it's like it was a situation where you were arguing with your brother and he started the argument or did something, and then it almost felt like I did something wrong because I was the only one that got hit with the belt. It feels a certain way. Mm-hmm. And it's like, yes, I'm the older brother, but then it's like even though, or in times if I did do something wrong, like say I did start the argument and I'm the one getting hit, regardless, I'm getting hit and I'm going to backlash because I'm like, because there's only two ways you're going to go with it. You're either just going to take it and shut up, or you're going to be like, B word, because that's what I would do, because there were so many different situations. Like I hate that I used to do that, but it was like, it was the only thing I had, because I'm like I always told people, I was like, if my mom was my dad in some of those situations, I would have hit her. Mm-hmm. But the fact that she was a female and I respected my mom, I mean, don't get me wrong, my dad, if he was in my life, there could have been a barrier of me not hitting him. But my thing is, I'm just like, there were times I wanted to, but I wasn't going to, because I'm like, at some point I was bigger than her. Mm-hmm. At some point I might have been stronger than her. But I was just like, no, like it's no matter how I was feeling in that moment, whether I was right or wrong, I was just like, I mean, it was never a life or death situation. Like there was like one time she hit me with a 2x4, but I was also being a jerk and I was calling her out of her name, and it's like I still regret it, but I'm like, you know, I don't even remember what
calling somebody out doesn't warrant getting hit with a 2x4.
No, I agree, but I mean,
oh my god,
yeah, like because one was like, that was the thing, and was like, I think it was one of those moments where like she hit me with like a fly swatter or like a belt, but it's like at some point, like when like, you know, your body become not calloused or something, but like whatever, you just start growing, like you're immune to something because it's happened so many times. Mm-hmm. So it's like, it didn't hurt. Like it hurt, but my tolerance
your threshold for pain went up high.
Exactly. So it's like, and I think it was a moment where I was like, that didn't hurt. After she did it, and it's just like, it pissed her off more. And it was like, I know for a fact I did something wrong. But yes, it didn't warrant that. But literally, she's just to a point where I pissed her off so bad. It's like, are you for real? So I was like, so she goes out the door, and she's like, she just goes out the door. I'm like, what the fuck are you? And I mean, because that's literally how, like, I was a jerk off. I was like, what the fuck are you doing? Why are you going outside? She opens that door again. She's got a 2x4. I'm like, what the fuck are you going to do with that? You better not hit me with that son of a bitch. And literally just right across the knuckles. And I'm like, this is so fucking bullshit.
Did you break your finger?
No, like she didn't full on. Okay. She hit me, but like she didn't put her whole power behind it. Mm-hmm. Like it was just one of those like whack, but it wasn't like I'm gonna come across your
swing.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
Kill you. Yeah,
yeah. It was like one of those ones like still. I need you to back down right now. Like, and I wasn't, but
that's hard, man.
Yeah, yeah. And it's like, and it was just one of those things because it was just like, it always felt like I did something. Like even like I remember there were times where they would have to bribe my brother to be good. And it was like, I was the kid that was like consistently good. So it was like, but that's where some of my backlash came from so many different areas. Like, I mean, hey, why are you acting white? Hey, why are you doing this? Hey, like, why are we poor? Hey, like, cause my brain is just, I'm getting shit from every direction.
Yeah. Isn't that a weird thing that people do? Like,
yeah.
Why are you acting white? Why are you acting black?
Yeah. And I never understood it. Like, I mean, and to this day, I get why people say that. I mean, we're conditioned a certain way clearly because it's like, I mean.
But it adds a negative connotation to a whole race.
Yeah. And it's so messed up.
It's messed up. Like, if you're black and they're saying, like, don't act white, in your mind, what does that mean to you when someone's saying that? Like, only you know.
Yeah.
What does it mean when your friends are saying like, "Hey, why are you acting white?"
Yeah.
Like, what do you think? What do you think what are they trying to say? Are they trying to say like you're acting like the other?
Yeah.
You're acting better than us? You're acting worse than, like, what is it? What is
Yeah.
it? Because I know when you're a white person and someone says it, they're trying to say like you're acting worse.
Yeah.
You're pretty much saying everyone who's black is less and you're acting like less.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you what it is mean. I'm not saying that's what I think, but that's what I know that's what people mean when they say it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, why you pull your pants up? Why you sagging?
Yeah.
Why you listening to that music?
Yeah.
Why you acting that? Why you going to that neighborhood? Why you eating that food? Just all of it, everything. It's like it's the other, like this, the not knowing, the fear of the not knowing, but because they can assume so much, they can just say like, why are you acting black? Why are you acting like that? And it's so weird. Like,
yeah, because I remember like I remember when I got older, because after, like, at some point there was a part of me that just said I don't give a shit anymore. Like I didn't, like, I gave a crap about the world, but I didn't at the same time, because that was where my backbone kicked in at some point. And it was like, there was one time I remember we're sitting on the porch, you know, just the kick it thing. And I mean, it was almost like it wasn't an ongoing joke, but there was always like a test of metal from me, like, for people. And it was just like, Terrence, why are you always hanging out with white people? And I was just like, because white people don't ask me why I hang out with black people. And it was just a natural response. But I mean, and it's like, even when I look at life now, like, most of my friends aren't black, but it's not that, oh, I hate black people. Like, I mean, because, like, there's, you know, the internet right now would be like, if I posted that story and, like, I was, you know, somewhat 1 million followers, someone would be like, oh, well, you have, that's because this person got you thinking this way and that way. No, it's because, guess what? Commonality, or guess what? These are just my friends. These are people that I trust in my life.
Yeah.
It's like, there's people that look like everything that if I don't know you and don't spend the time with you to see your tendencies as a person, I don't trust you. Mm-hmm. Or it's just
the person thing. It doesn't matter the skin color, age. It's just, how are you as a person?
Yeah, because it's like, I respect you, but I don't trust you until, like, I mean, I respect you, and I mean, I'll give you that trust until I have to take it from you. Because it's like, I mean, if you're a person and you seem like a good person, like, hey, you moved this chair or helped someone, like, just this little thing that you went out of your way just a little bit to help somebody, guess what? There's a tick for me to be like, okay, you're a good person. And then, like, hey, you just robbed somebody at gunpoint. Guess what? I don't want you in my life. I don't care what you look like. I just saw you rob somebody. And it's like, you could be a good person, but I watched you rob somebody with a gun.
Yeah.
I don't want to be around you ever again, more than likely.
Yeah, it's not a skin thing. No. It's a person thing.
Exactly.
I've met terrible women. I've met terrible men. I've met terrible white men. Yeah. I've met terrible black men. I've met terrible people. And I've met great, extraordinary, inspirational people of all backgrounds, education, money. It does matter. How are you as a person? And usually that terrible, I'm using it a little hyperbolically, but I mean, like, they might need help. Maybe they came from a bad situation. They just need some structured something, influence, help, whatever it is. But it has nothing to do with, I've met white dudes that are criminals that done heinous things, that, you know, get DUIs and hurt people and have cheated and stolen, and they're white. It has nothing to do with skin color. Nope. I don't want to hang out with them, or I might want to give them my advice and try to be there for them, but I want to distance myself. It has nothing to do with skin color.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, it's a sad thing for people to chalk up, like, crime and issues to skin color. It's usually income. Yeah. It's usually income. Yeah. And obviously, you know, because of the income inequality in the world, and, you know, forever, people of color being pushed into worse neighborhoods and not getting the help and the proper taxes, and it's a whole infrastructure problem. But
yeah, it's nuts, and it's like, some people don't see it, and I'm just like, I get it, because it's like, some people, you live, like, it's not a fantasy world, it's just, you're
out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah,
they don't know anybody. They're literally ignorant of it.
Yeah,
that's it.
Yeah,
all it takes is just talking to anybody. Just talk to people. It's what I wanted. Like, that's what sparked this podcast idea. It's just like talking to people, learning from them, meeting them, doing what I do. You meet a lot of interesting people, and it's like, it's important to just listen. Yeah, you know, I can't. What you've told me in the last few hours, I can't I'm not going to learn in a college course. Not like this. Not like this.
Definitely not. Yeah.
You know, I'm not going to learn from just walking down the streets and just assuming stuff.
Right.
You know, it's, I tell people, like, get in your car and just go drive through some neighborhoods in Chicago and just look around.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then go back to your nice, peaceful white suburb with no garbage in the ground, with a nice, you know, police force and fireman force, and, you know, the post office guy isn't afraid to deliver packages because there's not going to be, you know, someone's dog trying to kill them.
Right.
Just the little things. Little things.
Or like it literally looks safe. Like when you drive
safe.
into a neighborhood and it looks safe,
you feel safe.
Yeah.
Just not seeing garbage everywhere because
you know it's clean and it's kept.
Yeah. Well, when you live in a neighborhood, like, did your neighborhood have garbage around it? Was it like, was it kind of clean?
It was. I'd say it was majority on the clean side.
Yeah.
I mean, you would see it, but like not as drastic as some other places. But
there's some places you look at and you're like, nobody cares here. About anything.
Like the grass isn't cut. Like
just
there's
nothing.
Garbage in the lawn. Like
everything that makes something look good. Like the whole landscape isn't groomed. Like nothing is groomed, from garbage to bushes, the trees, the fences bent over to spray paint. It's just everything's not groomed in it.
Yeah, because we had pockets of it. Like my next door neighbor, his back lawn, like he didn't keep it, but literally like I was saying, the guy that worked at Warner Bread, he cut his lawn religiously. I mean, he didn't like go out there like how some guys or some people that take care of their lawns and everything. Like, I mean, he trimmed the bushes and stuff, but I mean, he wasn't like, oh yeah, I gotta make sure this is
with just plucking it with pliers and Q-tip, not Q-tips, what's it called? Tweezers.
Yeah.
It's weird. Like, your environment is so important. If you're in a bad area and there's trash everywhere and it's roughed up and spray paint and the streets are all potholes everywhere, you like don't have the motivation to take care of it. Like, it's nobody cares here. So like, I might as well, like, I don't have an investment in this. The city doesn't.
Right.
The state doesn't. The government doesn't.
Yeah,
it's like,
so
why should I?
Exactly.
And then you go to a nice neighborhood where everyone cares. They put in a lot of taxes. Everyone's like, nobody litters. No one leaves trash in their front yard. No one, like, the grass is cut. Everything looks well fed. They care. It's your environment. And I wish it wasn't a financial thing, but it costs money to take care of these things, you know? I just don't get why, you know, the government has put out so much money to help people over the last couple of years, this last year.
Yeah.
It's like, why don't they go help out all these neighborhoods?
Man,
like, what is going on?
There's like, that's something I've learned over time. It's just like, there's no right or wrong. Like, there's no answer, because it's like, when you look, especially politics and like even just in a city or like a town, like there's politics within the politics that it's just like, it makes sense when you talk to someone on it, but it's like, you're like the people in power, like sometimes, you're the mayor, but you don't really run the city. Like, and it's just like, sometimes it breaks. I mean, I feel like at the end of the day, that's how it breaks down in general, because it's like the people really running stuff, it's not them running stuff, it's the people with the money that run stuff.
It's always money.
Yeah.
It's always money.
And it's just like,
you got to take money out of politics, which is kind of impossible.
Especially at this
point.
It's
an oxymoron to not have money in politics.
Yeah. And it's just, it's like, it's so crazy, because like, especially growing up in the neighborhood I grew up in, like, the more I moved out of my neighborhood, like, it's crazy, because how they say the world's so small, you know? Like, I don't know, like knowing a cop and like his brother is a known drug dealer. Like, or like, maybe they're not a known drug dealer, but like somebody's like, dude, his brother sells, like, his brother's one of the biggest dealers in town. And you're just like, wait, what? And like, you've seen this guy, didn't know, like, but it's a known thing, whatever, situational. But it's just like, that doesn't make sense. And then it's just like, at the same time, you're like, well, it kind of does, because like, this person's not going to pull this person over. And then guess what? It's a police officer. What do police officers do? If that police officer's on the side of every other cop, guess what?
Yeah,
none of those cops are going to pull over that one person.
It's corrupt.
Yeah.
But it's corrupt just like how, because there's that, they work for the government and there's the ethics there, it's just as corrupt as we are with our friends. Like, you know a guy, he hooks you up because he's your friend.
Right.
It's the same mental concept as like a cop who has a friend who's a cop. and he's just not gonna like do him dirty like that. Well, he's just gonna like let him go. Yeah. Maybe warn him, just like a guy who's gonna help you with something.
Exactly.
It's like the same brotherhood, the same mentality. It's not right, but that's where it's coming from.
Yeah.
And you grow up with that, and like that's what you do when you're a kid, you're a teenager. You help each other out. Like, I'm not gonna tell him that's my brother.
Yeah.
You have that secret bond with your siblings. You don't tell on each other.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, guess what? So do friends. So do politics. So do police officers. So does military, firemen. It's the same thing. So if you're like, oh, they're filthy, they're corrupt, they do this. It's like, dude, that's human nature.
Yeah.
You have your tribe. You have your tribe.
And you just have your level of,
it just
are you
scales
willing
up.
to do this? No, and you didn't tell me this.
It gets dark and dirty when you get politics and money involved.
Exactly.
But that mindset of like, oh, I got to hook them up, like they're my friend, my tribe. Like, I'm not going to do them dirty like that. Like, you have your best friends, like, yeah, I would do anything for you. You would never rat on them. You wouldn't tell the cops on them.
Yeah.
It happens with police officers. It's just they're wearing a badge and they're supposed to represent us. They serve and protect.
Yeah.
It's complicated, man.
Oh, yeah. And it's
a lot.
Well, it's like, and it's so crazy because it's like the world's complicated, but not at the same time. So you're just like,
we got a little ant. Let him go.
Yeah, it's all good. But yeah, it's like the world is complicated, but then it's not at the same time. And you're just like, so it's like, I get why people I mean, my anxieties, like most of my anxieties in life, I mean, don't get me wrong, I have moments, but it's like, I mean, it could be triggered from my past and I just get in my head. I don't know. I really don't know. But then, I mean, like, I didn't get on my first plane ride until probably like 3 years ago. And it's just like, so I'd never flown anywhere. And then, like, I mean, even up until that plane ride, like, I'd been to Chicago. Like, I'd never left the Midwest. Like, so, like, I went from...
Why is that?
I mean, us being poor, and then I think we weren't involved. Like, I could have played sports, but we didn't. Like, I would have had to ask somebody else to help pay for me being able to play sports. Like, shoes, like, hey, here's football, cleats. Paying for what you have to pay for outside of those things. And sometimes it's not like football probably might be one of the cheaper sports to pay for, like unless you're like on a travel team or something. But I mean, we didn't we took vacations. I mean, we didn't take vacations. Like that's what I'm saying. Like when you asked, like when did I start leaving my neighborhood or whatever? I mean, like me going 10 blocks away to my friend's house sometimes was like a vacation, or like staying at a relative's house. I mean, sometimes we would I think when my cousin was at Iowa, we went up there a few times. But I mean, that's 45 minutes away. Like, and it's just like I was also fearful of like, one, with my mom's schizophrenia and bipolar, and then at some point her schizophrenia and everything. But then like at some point my brother went to prison, and literally it was like I was like, for whatever reason, like I think it's just my mom's state of mind. Like I didn't know. Like, because I've heard stories of how schizophrenia can, have people react to stuff, and like, plus you never know a person's situation without, like, you're not in their head, so you don't know where they're at. But when he went to prison, I was like I was contemplating moving, like even to Chicago, because I'm like, I couldn't find a band. Like, I've always wanted to be in a band, like whether it was a hip hop band, whether it was R&B, whether it was soul, whether it was rock. I mean, that's like, I don't know my sound. Like, I'm still finding my sound because, it all depends on the people behind me doing stuff. But I mean, I would Craigslist, and I'm like, I would get responses like the day after. Like I would put the link up from a SoundCloud, and like it'd just be like my hip hop stuff or something that showcased my vocals. I'd Craigslist and like just trying to get feedback, and people were like, "Hey, dude, like we're looking for a vocalist. Like, do you want to be in a band?" And I'm like, "I do." And like, I mean, literally almost moved to Chicago a few times, but I mean, it was gonna be like, get on a Greyhound bus and just get here. But I never took that step because there was always this little, like, I'm like, even though I was 3 hours away, I'm like, man, if something happens with my mom, plus I didn't want to, like, in my head, I'm like, because what they kind of say with like schizophrenia or what I've read and stuff, they're like, it's like usually a traumatic thing that kind of just triggers it or something along those lines a little bit. And I was worried that I would do that.
You see it? The ants on the microphone.
Yeah, I
saw that too. That's funny.
But like, but I thought that might, like, I was worried it would trigger her to go deeper into her schizophrenia. Like, hey, this son's, in prison, and this son's like, he moved away. And I'm like, even though it's 3 hours away, because I mean, and my thing is, we didn't really travel, so it's like 3 hours. I mean, it's really not that far away. And so it's just like, I mean, because even getting on a Greyhound, like usually when I fly now, like when I've flown, I get on a Greyhound because I don't have to drive up, don't have to pay for my car to be somewhere. Get on the Greyhound, stay with my cousin. She drops me off at the airport, and then I fly back in when I'm done, and then either ride the Greyhound back, or if she's going back to the Quad City, she'll just take me with her. And I'm like, literally, I could have just done that. And I mean, it's like, even on the Greyhound, I think it's like, it just adds the trip to maybe a couple hours longer, but most of the time we just go straight through.
That's a big thing that is very much overlooked and underestimated, the having money to travel.
Yeah.
You know, like my vacations growing up were not quite like yours where you stayed close. You didn't really go anywhere. Like, but we didn't have a lot of money, so we would camp. So we'd go places around the Midwest and the South, Tennessee, Kentucky, Michigan, but it was camping.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like...
Yeah, because you're not doing a lot, but you're just...
It's cheap to camp.
Exactly,
you know, my parents would spend not a lot of money for a whole week for us to go camping.
Right.
And it was fun, and it was different. You know, some people go to resorts, and they go to Europe, and they go here, and I never did any of that.
Well, and that's what I'm saying, because like now I'm just like especially through music, you meet these people, like people that follow you on social media that... I mean, well, the bands that you have come through, I can only imagine what some of these. I mean, what is it? Rat Boys that you've had?
Rat Boys, yeah.
I mean, I'm sure they've done bigger. Like, I'm sure they travel outside the states if they haven't yet.
They've toured Europe, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm like, and that's music taking them there. I mean, they might have. Some of them might have grown up that way, but I mean,
people who are fortunate enough to travel the world as kids or have parents that could take them around or go just anywhere, they should know how important that is, because some people never leave their town. Yeah,
and that's, I mean, honestly, because you could pass, like, especially me, like, I've passed through towns where it's like, you meet someone and, like, I would guess that I was the only black person they had seen. And I mean, like, I think there was one situation, it wasn't anything bad. They were just like they weren't caught off guard or anything. It was just like, hey, you're not from here, are you? And it was just like, but they were so chill about it. You know, they were super respectful and like, but it's like, you worry about that sometimes, but it's like, sometimes it's that person never left their neighborhood. And it's like, that's where, sometimes, hey, I've never seen a black person, or hey, I've never seen, an Indian person or Native American or whatever. And you're just like, holy cow. And the Quad Cities is like, I think just under like 500,000 people. So I'm like, at this point, I know I've seen, someone that either is from another culture or resembles another culture that I've never experienced in my life. And it's just like, it's the unknown. Like, they don't know about, so they're like, all I know is like, hey, I might be open to you, or my brain takes over and it's like, well, I've seen movies and this tells me that you're a bad person. Or you were raised the way that you were. And it's just like
that prejudice kicks in for people.
Yeah.
And it goes a lot of different ways. There's different races that don't like other races. It's not just always white to black. It's
then hearing the news about like the Middle East, and it's like, literally, if all these people are in the same room, you'd be like, there's no way you have an issue with each other. I mean, I guess it would break down to like gangs, but I guess, different countries or maybe a different religion or something.
Sometimes you're the same race, like you're saying with gangs, and you have issues with each other just because different territory. It's this tribalism thing. We do with teams, sports teams, bands, cities, states, rivalries, countries, ethnicities, religions.
Competition,
my religion's
no matter
better than yours. It's this weird competitive nature us humans have to survive, this drive.
Yeah.
And we misuse it. I think we become really bored with ourselves.
Yeah.
And we sit there, and because we have nothing going on, because we've manipulated our environment so much that we've simplified life to where we're just kind of sitting there. We have a lot of energy we need to disperse. We don't do anything with it. You sit there pondering the dumbest stuff ever.
Yeah.
Like, I don't like the way that person said that. Like the online mob of just trying to cancel people.
Oh, man.
It's ridiculous, right?
It is. And it's like, I mean, because that's what sucks. It's like, and like, I think the thing that's been making me so mad now is like when it's always, there's the people that's like, oh, well, it's just the cancel culture. And you're just like, dude, they did something wrong. And it's like, there's accountability regardless. Like, if you do something bad, whether you're caught or not, you still did something bad. There's nothing taken from that. Like, you just got lucky that you didn't go to prison for it.
Yeah. But then there's extremes. It's like people make mistakes.
Yeah, exactly.
So, like, why are we going crazy on them for making a mistake? Like,
Yeah.
the person apologizes and owns up to it. Like, what do you? People go to prison and they get let out. Do they have redemption? Are they okay now? I mean, to people's eyes, the average person, like, yeah, they paid their dues. But to the government, they get branded with that felony.
Yeah.
The ex-convict. They can get a job at Subway, and that's about it.
Yeah.
Like, it's so hard for them to get back into it.
They might have gotten education in there that they never would have got if they wouldn't have went. And it's like, it's so crazy. Especially, I mean, because there's people, like, there aren't, I can't say there are too many people, that, like, there wasn't, like, a local genius. Like, someone that I'm like, this person is literally, like, this is a 10-year-old that I know is a prodigy in something. And, like, they could have been this 20 times over, but they're not just because of where we live and how much money they have. But there was an instant where we were sitting on the porch, and this little kid, he's like maybe 13 tops. Like, I mean, 13 might even be pushing it. Like, he's probably closer to 10, just a big kid. And he's got, he looks like everyone else in the neighborhood that sags and stuff, and he's got a baseball cap and maybe like a hoodie on and stuff, and like a zip hoodie. And he just walks up, and he's like smoking a black and mild, but you can tell how old he is. Like he hasn't hit puberty yet, and like just the way he talks, you're like, oh man, this kid is younger than I am. But he's like, but you could still tell in his voice that he'd been through stuff, and just like he had this maturity about him at the same. It was like this maturity and this confidence in himself, but you knew how old he was. And then like we're just sitting there messing around, and I think a couple of them just started freestyling. Well, then this kid starts freestyling, and I mean, he goes like 15 minutes straight. And I mean, literally, like, I was just like, what just happened? Like, I mean, it's one of those instances where, like, if I could go back and pluck that kid and record him, like, we could have been sitting here listening to some kid that could have went on to be, like, one of the best rappers of all time. And, like, he just did it. It was so flawless and so effortless, and it was like, he did it, but he didn't even know how good he was. And he was like between 10 and 13. And it was like literally like, even to this day, like I don't remember what he said, but it was one of those things you'll never forget, just aspects of what had just happened. And I mean, it was like someone playing, and it was like a prodigy of like an instrument. And you're just like, how? Like, how are you playing this so well? You know what I'm saying? Like, you sound like an adult, like when I've sat in church and there was a 10-year-old playing a drum set, and literally you're just like, you can't even reach the cymbal, but yet you're sitting over there you're sitting in a pocket. And I mean, even the adults at this church I go to don't even use the full kit. You're using the full kit, can barely reach it. And I mean, you're controlling what your dad, who was the organist, and like your uncle that's singing. You're the one timing this out and running the show, and you have to keep looking over because you're just like, this is a professional drummer. This kid is 10. Like, and I mean, that kid, same situation. And you're just like, what is going on?
Yeah. No, the world is full of talented people.
Yeah,
they get overlooked. There's only so much room at the top. It's really sad. I'm very much over and sick and tired of people saying, like, putting others on a pedestal. It's like, we should just, raise everybody up. Because this pedestal nonsense, there's no longevity in it. To just, like, praising these demigods, these people who are worth hundreds of millions of dollars. They're so talented. It's like, are they? They're just good at what they do. There's millions of people that are good at what they do. Yeah. There's just not enough room. The system is not designed to have a bunch of people being up there. Whether it's work, whether it's arts, whether it's film, music. It's a really strange pyramid. Yeah. And the bottom is it's a great, it's analogous to how our society is structured. There's people at the top who have all the money, and then, there's us working class keeping that foundation tight. Yeah. And in the music industry, there's people like you and me just getting by, just doing it. And there's the people at the top that just have all of that money and wealth and notoriety and followers and plays. And everyone like treats them like they're these gods or something. They're someone important. It's like, they're important, but just as important as you and I. Yeah. Like, they're going to die too. Yeah. And in 1,000 years, no one's going to know who that is.
Yeah, it's like, yes, that person has had 6 heart transplants, but they have billions of dollars. That's the only reason why.
Yeah, it's
like, you should have died 3 times ago.
Yeah, but you have a lot of money, so you can just keep kicking it.
I just have a hard time with that pedestal nonsense.
No, trust me, because I agree, because it's just like, and I mean, for me, it's like people are like, oh, why don't you try out for The Voice or American Idol? And I was like, I thought about like American Idol when it first came out, I loved it, and then like I just got away from it at some point because I was just like, like it's like it's cool, but then I'm like the era, like I grew up on gospel, but then like my favorite, like if I could go back to a time period musically, like for myself, like don't get me wrong, because if it was just like to experience stuff, I would have loved to have been like quantum leaping through life, like just to go, I want to go see Jimi Hendrix, I want to go, go see Beethoven play like live, but like if I could go back somewhere and be an artist, like it would probably been like, what is it, like I don't know, the 70s, like when the Temptations in them were like
Motown?
Yeah.
Like late 60s?
Yeah, when Motown was in that pocket of just doing what the damage they did to music in a good way, like just like, yeah, like, because even I probably wouldn't have been a solo artist, but I mean, just like, and I can't even dance. But my thing is, I would have figured out how to dance to be in one of those guy groups. Yeah. And I mean, even the 90s, like it'd have been dope to be in like one of those like guy groups. Like, I mean, Boys to Men. Like, gosh, yeah. And I mean, even like Backstreet Boys and NSYNC, there's plenty of songs that I loved from those guys. I didn't love all of them.
A lot of them good singers.
Yeah.
Naturally, yeah.
And I mean, Justin Timberlake's like a really dope artist. Like, I'm starting, like, I'm not a music snob, but like mainstream music, I'm just like less and less of it. Like, I still have artists that I listen to that people will show me, because I don't listen to radio. Spotify is there, Bandcamp's there, so I'm just like, and most of the time I put on stuff that I know already, unless a friend's like, hey, check this out, you're gonna love it, I already know you will. And otherwise, everything else that I find is just something like I was passing on a channel and I was like, oh, what's this song, or it was in a movie, or by chance scrolling through Facebook, the video started playing and I heard something and I'm like, oh yeah, I love that, let me check your music out. But it's like, and it's like, I don't treat people wrong, like with, like my lady's dad, like I can't stand some of his music, like it's just because like some days he'll just play like nothing but like, I don't know, 80s rock or like he listened to a lot of butt rock, which people say, and it's like I don't hate on it, because there's some
What's butt rock?
I really don't know, but I want to.
Never heard of that.
Well, it's like I think they just classify like mainstream rock. I think that's what like say, like some people. I think some people would call like not necessarily Shine Down, but stuff like that. Like some of the like.
I think I know what you're saying.
Yeah, because it's like
generic type of rock,
like probably the 90s rock and roll, like Matchbox 20 and stuff like that. But the nowadays, not the original Matchbox 20 stuff, because I think everyone kind of, even if you didn't love them, you could get down with it. But then like nowadays, like say, I'm trying to think of the
very like generic corny rock and roll.
One, it's that, and then I think it's just the sound, because it's like, especially nowadays, mainstream, who is it? Like Five Finger Death Punch. That's what some people will definitely call like butt rock or whatever.
Okay.
And I think it's just so much like yes, Five Finger Death Punch like has their sound, but then there's like a ton of bands that'll just copy that sound. And it's like, that's why they'll never make it big, because they just sound like another Five Finger Death Punch, where it's as like Shine Down, like, yeah, like if people put them on the same pedestal, like I like Shine Down. I never liked Five Finger Death Punch, but I'm like, whatever, people like what they like. And it's just like, sometimes like it's so funny, because there'll be an artist that I've heard, or like they had a hit song like 6 months ago, and he'll be like, oh, have you heard this person? I'm like, yes, George. Like, and it's like he just saw him on like CMA or whatever, so that's why he's just now, because that's where he gets a lot of his music from. There's nothing wrong with that, but I'm just like, that's why they're there, George. They've been popular for a long time.
Yeah.
But it's like, and I mean, that's just where he goes. He goes to the radio, or like goes to that. And I mean, it's the mainstream. And it's just like me, it's like, I like some of it, but most of it I don't like, because it's just like.
Mainstream is a little sterile sometimes.
Yeah.
It's trying to make it palatable for everybody, but it missed the mark a lot.
Yeah.
It's.
Well, it's like, it's sad, because I like I've had to protect him sometimes, because I have buddies that they're like he's like, oh, this person's the greatest guitarist in the world, even though I know, I'm like, and I don't know who the greatest guitarist in the world is, but it's like, I have my friends that literally, they'll go see jam, like the biggest jam bands in the world, or like one of my friends, he does like photography, and stuff, and he'll like go to festivals out east and stuff all the time. And like there was river routes that we used to have in the Quad Cities, like right off the river. They had like, I remember, I think one of the last years they had it. It was like Blues Traveler was there, and like a bunch of other people. Like there was Vintage Trouble. They were coming up like pretty solid at that point. Like they had just played, I think, like Jay Leno or something crazy at that point. And like he used to help that festival and situational stuff. But then he's like also the friend that like he lived in the Quad Cities. Well, he would go see shows. Like he'd go to North Carolina like overnight or something, or like for the weekend. And like his sister, I think, worked for the airline and retired. Well, she has all her miles from working. So like she'll just give him miles to go fly somewhere. So he's not paying for a plane ticket. He's got so many friends that he's made back wherever he's going. And it's like usually like he'll go to Nashville or a major city. Well, he knows someone there already. So he'll sleep on their couch or whatever, or he'll just get a hotel room for, a couple of days or whatever. Well, he didn't even pay for half the stuff he had to, possibly pay for. Mm-hmm. And so he's like, and he's not even going to see a mainstream band. Like it's someone I've never heard of. And I'm just like, but then I look them up and I'm like, or I see a video of them live and I'm like, oh, I've never heard of them, but they're playing in front of like 1,000 people. And more than likely if you're paying, and I mean, they're the headliner. So you could be an opener and people might not know you, and it's just like, one day I was like, hey, he's okay. Like I messaged him, I was like, hey, yes, I agree. That guitarist is amazing. Because he's like, no, he's not. He's like listing off like 5 or 6 different names, and it's not like Carlos Santana types and like household names and stuff. Like I think Trucks. I don't know that. I know some of their music. What is that band? I can't remember, but I'm sure someone out there they'll know from just that me saying Trucks, but I can't remember. But yeah, he listed him and then other people and stuff.
It becomes a preference thing, though.
Yeah.
Like a good guitar player, a good singer. It's like, sure, but really it's just like a subjective preference, a style. There's some guitar players that are so trained and so technical and so precise, and it does nothing for me.
Yeah, because there's no feeling in it.
And there's some that are just really experimental and sloppy and do really cool stuff, make wild sounds, and I love that stuff. Yeah. That's my preference. Like I like that. There's some people who want to see someone who could just play that thing like a robot, and they are precise with their tapping. They don't hit one out of key note. Yeah. And I'm just like boring. Like give me that feel. Give me the real human mess ups and just that dark place they go to where they're wailing. And their eyes are closed and what happens, and that's what I want. Like I don't want that perfect thing. It just doesn't do it for me. Yeah. It becomes a preference thing. That's why I don't even go down those rabbit holes, those arguments. I'm like, dude, whatever helps you sleep at night. When you wake up in the morning, do you have a smile on your face? Like whatever it takes to get to that is all that matters.
Yeah. Yeah, because me, and like you said, with the imperfections of performances, like I love that because it's like, especially when it's an idol of mine, like vocalist or just, I love this song. And it's like, even though, it's like, it's not even like sometimes there are mistakes, but then other times it's just what they changed from the original recording. Like, it's live because, I didn't do that before. Or you literally brought in this guest artist to come play and they're playing their style and their sound and adding this whole, and you're just like, oh, like there's Spotify. I always come to Paramore. You listen to them at all?
I don't know who they are, but I never listen to them.
They have a song called Hallelujah. Well, they do the I can't remember who. I heard there was a secret.
Oh, the cover, the Leonard Cohen cover.
Yeah, well,
Jeff Buckley cover.
Yeah. I couldn't remember who.
Leonard Cohen original.
That's what
Jeff
I thought.
Buckley cover. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and like there's a live set they did. It might have actually been somewhere in Chicago. They might have played that. I think the version's from. I could be wrong, or Boston, one of the two. They open up and do like the first verse, and they get to the Hallelujah, and then they transition into their song, and it's so dope. I mean, it's because because even when they get to the chorus, she just cuts out. Haley cuts out, and it's just the crowd singing it, doing the hallelujahs, and then the guitar comes in and just does its thing, and I'm just like,
beautiful.
Yeah, and it's just that little aspect of things. I mean, it's a live show, so that's why they did it, but it's just like. That type of stuff, it's like they can replicate it as much as they want to, but it'll never be the same exact because you ain't never gonna have that same exact crowd.
Yeah.
Like you might have those diehard fans that follow you to all your shows, which is, I mean, hard to do, especially now. But people got money.
Yeah.
Or they have a job that it's like, follow this band around.
Yeah.
Hey, you work for Rolling Stone. Go on their whole tour.
Yeah, no, there's always those people that are
crazy.
like obsessed with the band. They'll follow them around the world. I can't get to that place, but
yeah. It's like I could see doing like 3 or 4. And it's like, don't get me wrong, or if it's like a best friend type thing.
yeah, if I knew
But like
them.
when you don't know them,
yeah,
that's
it's
lot.
a whole nother obsessive hobby that I can't understand.
Yeah.
What was I going to say? Oh, I forgot to plug in my uncle who made this, an artist. I always have different artwork every episode. And this is my uncle Dan, who is, he just does a lot of illustration and drawing and just for fun on the side. I've had this forever. He gave this to me like a decade ago or so.
Nice.
And I just wanted to promote it and sell it. Dan Bauer, not sell it like look at it, not physically
Hey,
sell
check
it.
out my uncle.
Yeah, he's just, a lot of people in my family are really creative and artistic. They just don't really talk about it much. So
Yeah, they keep it.
they keep it to themselves. But yeah, I think it's great. I think it's really cool.
There's a
and
lot
it's
of
just a
detail
side
in
thing.
there.
Yeah, side hobby. He's really
Yeah.
into nature and it's been there the last, I think we've been going for 3 hours.
Nice.
I think so. Oh yeah, it has been. It has been.
Nice.
Let's I guess we'll wrap it up now.
Okay.
If you want to plug your music, plug anything you want to before we end.
Soultru on most social media. I would appreciate it if y'all follow. I follow back most of the time. Sometimes I miss them. Check out stuff on Spotify, Apple Music. It's Soultru, all one word. Definitely check that out because, I mean, if there's people out there in the Quad Cities that don't know my sound or what we do, or people, once the world opens back up, I'm going to get back out there touring and stuff. So, like, you never know. I'll come through. And if you find out about me on the podcast, or mention that, and we'll, shoot this stuff, have a beer, whatever. But
it was a pleasure to have you.
Thank
you
man.
for sharing your stories. There was a lot of heavy stuff there, my friend.
Yeah, I know.
No, it's good. It's real. It's human. Like,
well, and it helps me too. Plus, I know, like, situationally, like, there's been times where I've had a show, like, there's not often, but there's been like 2 or 3 shows where someone like was like, dude, I connected with this song because my mom I grew up the way you did. My mom was schizophrenic and this and that. And like, literally, I think we talked for like an hour because it was one of those things I was like, man, like, let me hear your story, and let's share stuff and just like vent to each other.
Yeah.
Because that's what we were doing,
being honest and open. People can relate.
And you not feeling alone, because I mean, that's,
you're not the only one.
Exactly.
So thank you for that honesty and transparency, and
all day.
thank you for coming earlier, for doing those videos.
For sure. Thank you.
Great
Thank
singer, great
Thank you.
songwriter. Keep doing it, my friend.
Oh, for sure.
Long
as I can.
Yeah, please do. And again, everyone check out Soultru on everything. Terrence, take care, my friend.
Thank you, man.
All right, bye.
All right, brother.